welcome folks behind me, folks in front of me. This is a special call meeting of Rockport City Council. This is August 6th. We will call our meeting to order. It is 1:02 p.m. We'll call roll to establish quorum. Ward 1. Here. Ward 2. Not here. Ward 3.
Here.
Ward 4.
Here.
Mayor here. We do have a quorum. First item on the agenda is citizens to be heard, and I have the cards. Mr. Patrick Kane, did you want to speak now?
Yeah.
Come out here.
So Patrick Kane, 1123 East Cedar Street, Rockport. At the last budget workshop, I talked about borrowing $4.1 million. And I think that's necessitated because you're moving a bunch of stuff from the M&O side to the INS side. And what I believe I heard is that takes you to your debt capacity. So my concern is between now and 2029, when you pay off that whatever the amount was, I'll say $5 million part of the City Hall debt. If you have no debt capacity, what happens if we have another storm or other emergency? So I think it's irresponsible to take us to our debt capacity when we don't have an emergency. We don't have an emergency right now. We have a budget crisis. You could go out and ask the voters for an increase on M&O. You could cut budget. You could go with a lower COLA. There's many options you have, but if you're going to max us out on our debt and we can't take a few $1 million loan in case there's an emergency in the next 5 years, it just seems irresponsible. Right, so that's my primary concern on it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. First item on the agenda, consider the award bids for United Healthcare for health, dental, vision insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield for life insurance for active employees, 365 retired employees not eligible for Medicare, as well as signing on Brinson Benefits as benefits administrator. Casey.
So we are bringing, we went through the bid process. The United Healthcare company was our best bid. And so I actually have Nick with Brinson Benefits here with us today, and he's gonna kind of go over our savings and what we're looking at and give you a little more information, and he'll answer any questions.
Yeah, and Casey did a great job summarizing all the things that we went through in your packet. I don't know if you had a chance to read through it, but ultimately, high level, we were tasked to facilitate the sealed bid RFP, go out and get quotes for the city and their employees. As Casey mentioned, United Healthcare came back with a really competitive bid, a significant savings, but then also they agreed on the idea of offering 2 medical plans as a way to really curb costs and control costs sort of for the long term and the short term. The 2 plans that are being offered, one of them is very much the same as what's being currently offered through THBP. It's got co-pays. I believe the deductible is $2,000. And then right alongside that, we decided to offer an HSA compatible plan. And so an HSA plan is significantly cheaper in premium for the city and for employees. But it really incentivizes employees to make a really good decision for them and their families, whether they want to pick the HSA or the buy-up. And so in them having to make that decision, it really helps the city save significant premium dollars. What else?
Along with this, they're covering our dental and vision. The dental is about the same. The vision was a tad bit more expensive than our current one, but it also offers a little bit better benefit, and we make up for it in the savings with the health insurance.
So yeah, with the savings on the healthcare side, not only are you saving close to $100,000 in just sheer costs, that covers the fee to work with a consultant like us at Brinson. So within the presentation, you have a breakdown of literally line by line of the things that are going to be the cost of things moving forward from 10/1 through the next fiscal year. Questions?
First off, off, yes, what else can you do for the city? Since you can find savings in insurance, which
Right.
never really happens.
So I think it's important to tell y'all that we've been with TX Health for some time. For our re-rate, they gave us, I think, 11%. When we asked Brinson in and asked for another bid, they went up to 15%. So we kind of took that as a sign that there would be something better for us. But we will be offering the two policies. I think one decision that we need to talk about is, in case he's like, what are you gonna say? We have the HSA and the traditional plan. Historically, we have paid for all of employees. Do we want to have employees pay the difference if they choose the higher plan? That's not something that's necessarily been on the board, but do we want them to pay the difference in the HSA and the traditional plan?
Where the city I work in currently, if you choose the HSA plan, the city contributes a portion to your HSA to offset some of
The difference.
the difference. If you go with the HSA plan, there is a cost savings for the city.
Right.
But then they contribute a little bit, for, whether it's just self or family, to offset your deductibles.
We could certainly do that, but then we're eating into that savings. We estimated.
There is that savings there, so is there a happy medium to offset, going into some of that as a benefit to the employee of taking the HSA coverage over the, and I assume it's PPO still, the HSA still PPO?
We could, sorry.
I'm going, please.
We could split the difference and give a portion to the HSA and reduce the buy-up cost for the new program.
Well, one of the things that a lot of cities will do is they'll pay 100% for both. Let's say the buy-up plan's 500 and the HSA is 400. They'll commit to the $500 amount, but the $100 difference they'll deposit into, as you were saying, the employee HSA.
This currently includes us paying 100%.
Of both plans,
Yeah,
but no HSA contribution.
No HSA
Right.
contribution.
Just sure covering the employee costs.
We don't really have the money to.
Cover that.
The HSA plan, in my opinion, when you look at it on paper, it's a better option. It's a lower annual maximum or out-of-pocket maximum versus the buy-up plan. The main drawback is that there's no copays for that HSA plan. So you're paying, sort of first dollar cost all the way up to
Your
the
deductible.
deductible is $3,500.
$3,500.
Is the lowest essentially that UHC offers from an HSA deductible, but it's half of what the out-of-pocket is for the PPO buy-up. So again, in my opinion, that would be a better plan, but everybody's different, and so that's ultimately the reason to bring choice to the table for employees to choose what's going to be best for them and their household, while also, again, controlling costs for the city. If everybody enrolled in the HSA plan, to your point, if you made that one free and they had to buy up to it, the city could potentially save more money in premium because more people will gravitate towards that plan versus the more expensive one.
What's the premium difference in the two? Do we know?
I haven't printed out because that only gives what the employee pays. The premium and between the two is $40.
So if you want the standard plan, you have to pay $40. If you go with the HSA, you get it for free. That's what I'm proposing that you consider. I'm not proposing that we don't pay for everything for everybody. I'm just saying it's something that needs to be discussed.
The model would change, so you'd see more savings to the city if you went with that approach. Obviously, $40 per employee is, really going to be the difference between the savings and what you see up there.
If you do educate the employees to try to go to encourage the HSA program versus the standard, where is the benefit, where, as far as the city goes, how many do you have to enroll? Is there a percentage to enroll on that side that it would make sense?
This model is based off of, I believe, 20 people
Yeah.
taking the HSA plan.
No, you have 40
Yeah,
up there.
40s for the
For the
FSA.
FSA,
Yeah.
yeah, for if they pick the buyout.
If someone chose to do the FSA.
Sorry.
So there, there's a handful of variables on here just because we don't know the behaviors of everybody and how they're gonna choose or not choose the plan.
And the HSA is completely new, so.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So there'd be about $60,000 a year saving if we required the buyout.
I know for us, it was, the first year it was offered, it was not confusing, but it was new.
Right.
It was a change and everybody was worried, but those that joined in the HSA, it became, you know, it was a savings account. And if you didn't get sick, you ended up with some money in your savings account to pay for stuff down the road. And that was the benefit for the younger crowd that doesn't typically visit the doctor quite often. That they ended up with, you know, some money in there if they did have to have a surgery or something later on down the road, that they had the ability to pay for it out of their account. I know we can't.
Is there a difference in the two plans for what people would have to pay to have dependents on their insurance coverage?
A significant difference. So on the buyout PPO copay plan, it's gonna be a lot more expensive than if you.
She'll have those numbers.
Yeah, I have these numbers, and then actually, we tried to include this part so it wasn't so much to try to go through. But I do have the numbers. You're looking at about $100 a month less if they put them on the HSA versus if they put them on the
Is that for
traditional.
spouse, child, and family?
That's for entire family?
It's around
Okay.
about $100.
Yeah. And then for family too.
Yeah.
So if you go with the HSA, it's cheaper for the city and it's cheaper for you to add your family.
Have you done any,
Just shows us who incurred over 15,000 over a 2-year period.
have you thought about just doing an in-house survey to see what the healthcare needs
We
of the employees
could,
would
but
be?
at this moment, we have to make a decision imminently to be able, or we're gonna lose insurance at the end of September.
Right, so
Yeah.
if we don't do something here, what we will need to do is stick with TX Health at the 15% increase.
Which would be significantly more.
I think moving forward though, in the long term, we need to make that consideration and include it within if there's any time for, renewal in our policy. Because then you would have a better idea of the needs, the healthcare needs of the employees, and we wouldn't be negatively affected.
And we do see that this is new this year, so we may or may not have people that wanna go with the HSA because they may not understand it. But that's the great thing about working with Brinson. Next year, we reevaluate. We can do that survey and say, hey, they didn't like it. They wanna go back to just regular plan, and we can make those decisions at that time.
So we could continue to pay all this first year and then have education sessions next year going through the whole year, knowing that at renewal time, if you're gonna continue on the buyout, you're gonna need to pay for that. Or if you go with the HSA, you're gonna get $10 a month in your account, I don't know, whatever it is. We could work the year knowing that it will change in 1 year, since we're up against such a tight deadline.
I would say the majority of the cities we work with do a stair-step approach like that. Instead of ripping the Band-Aid off year one, they'll say, okay, this year we're going to pay for both, and then we're going to reevaluate next year, and then the next year, depending on how enrollment is and how the plan performs, that's when the city can say, okay, we're not going to pay for both, we're just going to pay for this one, and you got to buy it out.
Is that something Brinson can do for us, is on the education side for the employee?
Yes, absolutely.
With this also, we get what they call the purple card.
Mhm.
We get telehealth, you can enroll up to 5 people in your home. They do not have to be on your insurance plan. So if you can't afford to put your kids on insurance, you will have telehealth coverage for them.
And it's medical and
Medical
mental.
and mental health coverage. So that's one of the things that comes with signing the contract with Brinson. So, we're trying to bridge that gap regardless if you can afford the plan or not.
I think it's awesome that y'all were able to find savings in health insurance in today's.
In a very similarly structured plan. There's not a lot of difference in what we have today.
We actually, if you look at implementation credit there, that was kind of the last thing that United Healthcare came back and offered. When we were just asking questions, asking about the network as we typically do. They came back and said, well, we'll give them $20,000 too. And we're like, okay. We'll present that. I mean, who's not gonna give up free money? And then to Casey's point, adding the dental and vision brings the premium down another close to 30,000 across the board, just in what they call credits. Which, you know, that right there essentially pays for the Brinson consulting fee with those two pieces.
The life insurance will be with Blue Cross Blue Shield if we move forward, simply because United Healthcare declined to quote that. One added benefit that we do not have right now, we have additional insurance that people can pay for, but the new policy would offer that the spouse also. We don't have that now, so that would be an added benefit. Wanting to add additional life insurance for their spouse.
I think one of the big things we look for as the municipal employer is some of those benefits. You know, you're not going to be a millionaire working for the city, but you know, hopefully some of the benefits on the side make it worth it. So anything we can do to help on the benefit side, I think is a
It's also a huge retainment,
Right.
and that's been a consistent concern as well.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
What, do you need an action on that one?
Yes, the savings realized here are contingent on us signing a contract with Brinson. We brought this to you earlier in the year and said, we're gonna do this little stair-step thing. If they bring us something good, then we'll sign on with them. So, you need to approve the plan.
Yes.
And the contract with Brinson.
Do we have to specifically address any changes that we discussed as far as if we wanted to roll it out for the next 12 months?
No, we'll bring that. That's staff
We just
direction.
need approval to go forward.
Yep.
You got it in front of you?
I can, Ms. Van.
Dave, leave me alone.
I move to approve item 1, awarding the bids for United Healthcare, dental and vision insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield life insurance for active employees, pre-65 retired employees not eligible for Medicare, as well as signing on Brinson benefits as benefits administrator.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have any further question or comment? Now we'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is receive a presentation from Dan Jackson with Will Danner regarding utility rates and fees.
Mayor, that's been slated for the 13th agenda, so we'll need to pull that off of this one.
Very good, we can do that.
We'll see that on Tuesday.
Okay. Item number 3, discuss the possibility of issuing debt.
Is that you or me?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, so
Or I can go through the presentation. Then we can
let's
talk
go
about
through the
it.
presentation and
Let's do
talk
that.
about it as a whole, if you don't mind.
We have a request, some requests to kind of see how do we compare with some of the surrounding cities. So we have Ingleside, Centon, Rockport, Francis, Passio, Portland. Tried to pick some taxable, these are taxable values. These are off of the appraisal district rolls. Trying to pick some comparable properties and then kind of look at it with where we were with in the taxes, and you can see that we are significantly below our surrounding areas. Also wanted to kind of compare where the tax rates are in those cities, and then how much revenue that brings in. There's a very strong correlation there. So your tax rate versus what you bring in, the taxes that you pay, property taxes that you pay when you qualify, there's a very strong correlation. Any questions on those? We talked about strong correlation between the tax rate and the tax paid. However, keep in mind that, again, the city of Rockport spent we dug into reserves over $900,000 out of the general fund in 2022. The city of Rockport has used budgeted reserves to balance, certainly to balance the 2023 budget, if not even those prior. Again, I've not had a chance to go back to look past, but like specifically on that. The multi-year deficit spending is why the increase in tax rate, this is the previous slide that we talked about before, was so profound. What was so profound was because, again, we have multiple years where we've been deficit spending, and that we're trying to play catch up and present a balanced budget. So that's why it was so high. Wanted to have kind of a comparison of where we are or where we've come from. We can see, like, during the Hurricane Harvey time, we were at 51 cents. As your values go up, usually your property taxes can go down. Again, you're trying to maintain a stream of tax revenues coming in. And you can see with what was our preliminary proposal is that we're basically up about from that 38 cents to the 36 cents preliminary proposed to where we are. That's about a little over 6%, about 6.5%.
So that graphic was meant to show you that we've reduced our tax rate every year for the past 5 years, and we are asking for an increase this year. Additionally, we haven't talked about it before, but Anna sent in some new numbers, got a new calculation, new law, new program, whatever Anna does, and sent us new numbers that we still had an unused increment. So all of our proposals today will be towards reducing the amount of debt we take, but taking that 3.5% and the unused increment as well on the M&O. Does everybody remember unused increment and the whole, okay. We thought we've been using the increments, but she found us one, I guess.
Controller recalculated, they recalculated what they consider to be unused increments, and we ended up with about 1.8 pennies. They gave us, and again, she didn't even know. This was like a last second thing that the state did, and so it's helped us from what our previous considerations were. It's helped us.
Was this a change in legislature or just a calculation at the state level?
At the state level.
At the state level is what on it said. So it ended up helping us. But yes, and again, because of the slowing increase in values, again, kind of the inverse offset relationship, because our values are now slowing, that's also putting upward pressure on our tax rate. That's just what it does. You can kind of see, and during Harvey, it spiked, values down, as values started climbing, that tax rate kind of started dipping. Now that values are plateauing, more so plateauing, then it puts upward pressure on that rate. We were talking about without any tax rate increase, if we do nothing, again, basically we'd be starting off with a budget deficit of $1 million collectively between the general fund and the utility fund. We had talked, I know you were here, Mayor, but we had talked about kind of earlier, we were talking about kind of what would be the impact of any changes. But again, the main thing here is that we'd be $1 million in the hole just coming out of the gate. Deficit spending impacts hurts fund balance reserves, as we saw in the 2022 audit. Hopefully 2023 will be here in September, hopefully, fingers crossed. It locks down city services, as we've all seen. You end up basically in irons, and citizens want projects done, they want services, they want needs services, they expect services, we try to provide services. But if you don't have any revenues, if you don't have anything to work with, you can't do much. I mean, it's just, it comes with it. It impedes the ability to retain and attract quality personnel. Prohibits the introduction of new programs, initiatives that can fuel future Rockport, not just maintain the past. And we can see what just trying to maintain the past has done is we have deteriorated streets, public spaces, pushes today's current deficit spending on the future of children and grandchildren. Of course, that's what it does. And it also defies the fundamental governmental accounting concept of interperiod equity, which is kind of the basis of governmental accounting. Is you want what the services that the citizens are receiving today is what they are paying for today, not pushing off on the kids, or not incurring all the expenses today for what future people are going to be enjoying. You're trying to match benefit for cost. benefit for cost. It's really important. And this is just the Gatsby's, explanation of interperiod equity. That's really what we're trying to do here is match. We've not been matching. We've been pushing the costs out for benefits now, and we're behind the 8 ball. And you just have to look around just to see what's so we're wanting to make things better, and we're wanting to be able to provide newer and better things for the citizens. Any questions?
So our last presentation, we were asking for 6 additional cents on the INS. So that would have given us an increase of about 25% in our tax rate. With our increment, we can go significantly farther on the M&O. We are not going to propose no debt because we eventually have to move those long-term assets over to the debt side. But what we're going to propose is stepping it up. Kind of doing a stair-step thing. The first thing we would like to do is move are you shaking your head at me?
No, I'm not joking.
We haven't had a lot of time to discuss this, sorry, it's all new.
If you want, I can continue on this, if that's okay.
Keep going. I mean, it's all tied together,
It
so we're
is.
essentially getting number 3 and number 4 as one item, if you guys don't mind, and
Okay.
we'll get a feel for where you want to go on both of those things. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. So Vanessa talked about we had that tax increment that we could fold in, which really helped. So that's in 2024. You have that unused increment that came into play. With that, we were able to. It really helped. With that, we were able to back off of what we were looking at trying to do on the INS side. These are what the INS rates would be if everything remained the same. We weren't moving any debt around. It's just paying for the debt that we have today. On that debt, so we're looking at about 38 cents right now. And again, flat for any debt spending, or debt issuances, excuse me, or debt, I should say. For each penny increase in that INS side, it's about $250,000. So right now, we're looking at about a 6% increase between the 38 cents and the 36 cents. If you go up a penny, that 6% becomes a 9% increase. If you go up another penny, that then provides $500,000 in debt service. They could probably, well, I'm not going to speculate on that, but you're getting where you can start supporting from backing into it. You can start supporting a couple $1 million worth of debt to be doing capital projects and improvements. So if you go up, sorry about that. So for every penny increase, it provides $250,000 of debt service, and it goes from 6% to 9% to 12% to 15% if you wanted to be doing pennies, and what's the percentage increase in the overall tax rate. But that provides half of, so about 3 pennies. So 3 pennies would get you that $750,000 of debt service. I think of anything else specific on, but this would be what we would be proposing to go with, would be to taking advantage of that unused increment. That also falls in line with what Bob Henderson was talking about in terms of, given where we are with that 3.5% cap, that any leeway that you can get to try to extend that to try to, you're never going to catch up. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But to try to maintain and move forward and get a little more margin each year would be to take advantage of that M&O increment.
So, as I understand, and Robbie can correct me if I'm wrong, if we go up 2 pennies, that gets us $500,000. Would that cover the B&E?
It should. Because it's going to be, it'll be interest rate sensitive.
Sure.
And so I know hopefully they'll be dropping here to it. There looks like there's downward pressure. But I think right now, I think you can borrow about 4%.
Okay, so it would be close to covering the B&E, which we've talked about moving over. It would not cover any overages for City Hall?
I need to back into it.
Okay, we're not over budget yet. We're a long ways from finished and there's a lot of things negotiating. I don't anticipate us going over, $1 million, but I don't wanna be left with nothing, when things come down to the wire. Like I said, don't panic, we're not over budget yet, but there's still a lot of things to be negotiated.
I'll go on a limb. I'm thinking it's about 3.5 to 4 million for Penny.
Per penny,
I'm going on a limb on that, so.
what is,
That a penny on that INS.
That we borrow.
3.5 to 4 million.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, then it does not include any of the capital projects from the CIP that we put in. So to do all of those things, give a 5.5% COLA, hire a cop, and then have business as usual, which there was about a 1.5%, 2% increase in our, base budget. So to do all of that, we need the 6 pennies, right? So if we can stair step it in and maybe capture the V&E this year, maybe a little bit of overage for City Hall. I think we would at least be on a good track. So instead of 6 pennies, we could go up 3 pennies. I don't know what the total percent increase, but it would not be 25%, which the full 6 penny would be. That's a hard pill to swallow. I don't care who you are, taxpayer or not. I mean, city proponent or not. 25% increase in your taxes. I don't care where you are. It still is going to affect your bottom line. But if we can at least start moving in that direction, we will be in a better position for years to come, as opposed to let's cram it all in the 0.38, skate by the skin of our teeth, and not have any wiggle room if anything goes wrong, and then pull from our reserves again when the first thing goes south. So we kind of want to know what you guys' feeling is on that. What's your pain level for a tax increase? I don't expect you to say 25%. Are we good with 10%? Do we think 9% is reasonable? 15? Where are we in the pain scale, and what do we need to aim for?
And again, 1 penny is about 3%, so.
1 penny is
we're
3%.
6% coming out of the gate. 1 penny would be 9%, 2 pennies, 12%, 3 pennies, 50%.
Would you write that up there for me, please? Oh, if I want to read it, I need to pick something.
What does that do for the what was presented last week? So we would lose our COP and our COLA?
No, this keeps COP and COLA. So we're starting at a 6% increase. That covers our COP and our COLA. Now, do we want to do capital projects? Do we want to move the V&E? Those are the 2 things still out on the line. If you want to reduce the COLA and cut the COP, then your 6% goes towards those other things. I was trying to explain it to Robbie, I'm so visual. If we move this lever, these 9 switch. And if we move this one, all of these switch. So we're gonna have to narrow in those parameters, and then we will tell you what the levers move to be. But, okay, so we're starting with a 6% increase today.
Yes.
If you choose 1 penny on the V&E, that will make you a 9% increase. Not V&E. If you choose 1 penny on the INS, it's gonna give you a 9% increase and would pretty much cover the V&E.
And City Hall.
And a City Hall buffer, but not at the level we would want it, or that we're thinking we need. Not that we're thinking we need. I know somebody's gonna hear it and think, oh my God,
We're 10 million over.
no, we're not. We are not. We are going to need a buffer on City Hall. I don't know how much. If it's $1 million, we're all in trouble, but we need a little bit of a buffer.
The two pennies gives us the V and E, your city hall buffer, it still keeps our coffee cola. But.
Common coal is in this,
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So coffee cola is already there.
done.
It's done, so I need to take that out of my brain.
2 pennies would give us probably one of our 2 submitted capital projects. We have several $1 million worth of capital projects that need to be done this first year. We don't have the capacity on staff or off staff to complete that level of capital improvement projects. So we picked what we thought we could complete in 1 year, and that's what the 6 pennies represents. So if you go at 2, you know, we could get 1 or 2 capital projects, 3 pennies. At 15% increase, we get 1 to 2 more. So,
And the B&E is only, that's on a per year basis. And I think we're about $750,000 a year for B&E replacement. We had to go up from $500,000 because we didn't do, the last 2 years, we didn't do B&E.
We pushed it
So
off.
we've got to play catch up on that alone.
and you guys remember
But it's
doing
a
that.
10-year cycle.
Well, that's what we're gonna use, that free loan for.
We were gonna use the free loan that we never took the money from
Yeah.
to pay for the V&E.
Yeah.
And, I'm not sure whose decision that was, but,
It's
not a
that
bit.
was not today, that's yesterday.
it was yesterday's decision. We gotta figure out today's answer. So, you know, like I said, we're not putting the 6 pennies up there because we know that's 25% and we know that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable for us to ask.
What did-
I don't know. The mayor's looking at me like, huh?
I
Yes,
missed
sir.
the last meeting, so I had some notes back then, and I'm gonna use a couple of them now, but probably some other stuff too. The state mandated a long time ago how much you can go up on your tax rate without an automatic rollback election. And nobody likes the idea of going past that. I was here when we had a rollback election, and it scared the city council and everybody else half to death. And since that time, it has been difficult to get any kind of a tax increase that would help us actually keep ahead of whoever's keeping up with the money we're spending. What we are doing, in appearance at least, is what we tell our kids not to do when they turn 20 years old, right out of high school, and they get a credit card. And they start buying stuff on the credit card because all they've got to do is make a minimal payment every year. And we are doing that with the money that's supposed to run the city. We are paying as much as we have to pay, but we are having to borrow for a lot of other things. And we are doing exactly what we tell kids not to do and try to get them away from that, because at minimum payments, you never pay the credit card off. You pay on it for the rest of your natural life, and then your kids take it out of whatever they're going to inherit from you to pay it off. That being the case, the question that I have asked to Todd Hunter and some of those other people in Austin is, why is it that if you're going to set a maximum without an automatic tax rollback, why don't you do it based on what your tax rate is? If you have a tax rate of 36 cents, there's a significant difference in what 3% is. If you have a tax rate of 75 cents and you're in Sinton or you're in Portland or you're in wherever. And his justification to me is that the senators don't see it that way, that the representatives do, but the senators don't, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but that is still beside the point. The percentage thing to me is just about irrelevant, because if you're talking about 25% of a 36-cent tax rate, you are not talking about nearly as much money as you are if you're talking about 3.5% on a 75-cent tax rate. And so the things we can do with the money based on a percentage, it doesn't help because we don't get much more. I'm not crazy about telling folks that I'm interested in doing a 25% tax increase. I'm really not, but the number doesn't scare me to the extent that I wouldn't think about it, because we can only do so much with those lower percentages that we're allowed to go to by the state. We also, if we don't do something to start indicating that we are generating enough money with our tax rate to pay our bills and to take care of the issues we need to take care of on the the daily, the yearly things that we have to pay for. If we don't do that, well, the rating for our bonds goes down because our rating goes down. And so we have to at least show that we're doing the best we can in the best interest of the town to take care of that kind of business. So, I won't say that I'm excited about a 25% tax increase. My understanding at the time we discussed this is that is about $200 for the average homeowner in a year. And I don't know that that is particularly scary. It is if you're living on Social Security, and I understand that. But I would not say that I could not consider that. I'm not excited about it. But we have got to do something to start getting away from using that credit card every time it comes around and taking money out of the capital programs that we need to take care of, and street maintenance and all sorts of other issues that are going on, and we can't keep robbing those capital programs to pay off the other things that we could do if we had a more significant tax rate. So again, I'm not jumping up and down saying, yes, we need to have a 25%, but I would look at that before I would go and smile at backing up far enough that we continue with the rate we're going right now, of not having funds to pay for things that we're doing every year, that we have to do every year. Vehicle replacement, occasional additional staff that we need, and obviously 2 or 3 years between pay increases for folks is not a good thing. We don't expect huge increases every year, but I've been there when we went 5 years without, when you lose too many people. So that's my thought on the subject. Now, I've said it earlier, but the first time I was at the meeting.
The, kind of what the mayor alluded to, you know, when we were talking last week, and it was at 20, it was the 6 penny was at 25%. What are we losing between the 15% and the 25% now? And what we can potentially do is that 3 pennies difference, is that all going to be in capital improvement projects? Is that where we're
So 1 penny gets us B&E,
and
buffer,
and City Hall, thank you.
and 2 pennies gets us some capital projects. 3 pennies gets us some capital projects.
Yes.
So whatever we add on to it will go 100% into capital projects because it is issued as debt. It cannot be used to run the city. It has to be used as a capital project.
and it can't be used to pay off other debt or existing debts? We can't use that to.
No. I mean, it'll make the debt payment on all of our debt, but we can't go borrow money to pay off money.
Well, we can, yeah, it can't be used for operations. It has to be used for fixed assets, for projects, for things that have a life, that have a lifespan. So anything on that INS side has got to be capital related.
So right now, we don't have the, either the staff ability or anything to really grab all those capital improvement projects.
Yeah, it's like, how many $1 million do we need in the first year? You remember? Was it like,
If we did the whole thing,
yeah,
I think was it 15?
yeah, $15 million worth of capital projects. We don't,
Yeah.
we need to tie up some of the capital projects we're on now. We are almost at the end of the unspent bond projects. So we've got a few things to tie up. We can take on a few more later in the year, but we can't take on the whole list in year 1. We can't take on the year 1 list in year 1. And I'm sorry to say that, but without contracting it all out for somebody else to do, we cannot take it on.
So wouldn't that, to me, I understand what the mayor's saying, but what I'm hearing from you is we shouldn't even have to go above the 2 pennies.
Well,
Because we can't even finish the project anyway, so what's the point of adding?
Taking the debt.
and that's what we're bringing to
Why
you.
would, I mean, if we can make it easier, yeah, if we can make it easier on the taxpayer to digest, hey, this is where we're at. I don't wanna go,
Right.
so far if we don't need to right now, because we can't even do anything with that money. That would make no sense.
So the big difference between last week and this week is our unused increment we've added in.
Yeah.
So that gets us to back down the whole scale, and that's what we're saying. The 25% is not necessary.
Yeah.
The 6 pennies. We're saying 1 penny for sure, 2 pennies would be phenomenal, 3 pennies, you know, we probably would be very comfortable in what we could do there.
So I would feel more comfortable. I don't feel like we need to do the 25%. I'm good with, I could see numbers, not saying I want to go that high, but like I could see numbers to the 2 pennies, because that's what that is a necessary number that we need right now to get some things done.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with just add more taxes if we don't need to this year. We're not going to do anything for.
And that's what we think we need to do, is stair step it in at a rate that we can tolerate it with the manpower.
And we've said before, and again, I'm not just saying that I could live if we had to do that, don't want to. The other thing to me, and I've said this a lot of times, is that we are way, way under 6 months reserve funds for taking care of things.
Right.
And like Patrick said a little while ago, you worry about debt issue, but we haven't had the 6% or the amount of money set aside to operate this city for 6 months handy in 5 years.
Right. At the end of our 2022 audit, we were at 111 days. 2023 audit will be in September, and we know that's gonna go down because we balanced the budget with the reserves last year. So I don't know what it'll go down to when it comes in, but we know that that number is going to go down.
And that was what gave us at least a little bit of confidence in case of a hurricane. We had 6 months reserves that we could get by on, and we can't do that now. I know that about 8 months ago, the interim city school superintendent, I was talking with him, and he said if we had another hurricane, the state would take over the school system because their reserves were low enough they couldn't pay. And I don't want the city to be in that shape. I heard someone say at an economic development conference that there are folks that seem to be of the opinion that the city should not function on a profit, that you shouldn't make a profit. If you don't make a profit, you're a business. You are a business, a public business. If you don't make a profit, you're gonna go broke. And we can't let the city go broke. And we're not saying that that's what's happening. I'm just saying we have to be responsible for what we do in taking care of what the city expects to have from us, the things that they expect us to take care of for them.
Well, just kind of add on to that, it's not just a hurricane for these reserves. I mean, we're talking about the little events that we have, like a road, like other things. Those things come into, they take our budget more than the hurricanes, because with the hurricane, you get federal funding and stuff to help. So and look at how many events we've had just in our town of Rockport in the last 2 or 3 years. That takes a lot of out of our money as well, and so we have to really be responsible in that sense. And it's just gonna, I feel like it's gonna keep this going that way too. So I just wanted to kind of add on to that.
Robbie, at our 6% start, so we're asking for the 6% no matter what.
Yeah.
Does that allow us to contribute to our reserves any?
No, that's a balanced, that would be a balanced budget.
Tell me, to fill our reserves to.
No, nothing in reserve.
Okay.
Nothing in reserve.
Okay.
That's, like you said, skin of our teeth, and I know that's how the departments have been operating for the last couple of years as well, and it's really rough, but that is skin of our teeth.
So does the 3 pennies, would that give you extra, I want to call it extra, well, would that build back some, free up some for your reserves to put back into
Any monies from INS, on the INS side, those are restricted monies, and so those can only be used to pay debt service, so no, we can't, it does not help us operationally.
But I agree with what the mayor and Mr. Kane said earlier. You know, we don't want to live out of our savings account, and we don't want to borrow money and max out the credit cards. It's not the way you run a business. Hopefully it's not the way you run the household. And it's obviously not the way I want to be running the taxpayers' funds. But I also want to make sure that we're maintaining, and I won't say just maintain, because I feel like that's kind of what we've been doing, is either maintaining or just a little bit under maintaining, just floating ourselves by. We don't have to have the Taj Mahal and all, and everything's got to be pretty and shiny, but we need to fund appropriately, I guess is what I should say. And so I guess my ask to y'all would be, what is that? Which one is that? Which one funds it appropriately? We're not everything's shiny and new, but we don't max out the credit card either.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My opinion is that if we do the 2 pennies at the 12%, that's going to stair step us up into it. So until we're current on our audits and we're funding our V&E appropriately and moving into some of the things that we need to be doing appropriately, I don't think that going above the 2 pennies is necessarily necessary. You know, if we start there, give us a year to look at it, and then next year we may come back and say, all right, we're ready to add 2 more pennies. Or we may go back and say, that didn't work. Let's adjust the course from year to year. There's no need to take off a huge bite, not knowing where it's gonna land us. I mean, we have a good idea, but,
Yeah.
you know, we need to see where we're gonna be when audits are in and when projects are complete and things like that.
Because they really want you to spend that money pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Your bond monies. And if it's B&E, again, it would be a recurring bite every year. But again, just pushing your longer term, like we were talking about, separating the M&O and INS and having the INS stuff support long-term fixed asset projects, equipment, and having the operations side support operations. Right now, this is the mayor saying we have operations that's buying the equipment, doing B&E and everything, and it's smothering us. And the maximum tax rate, I believe, in Texas is $1, combined tax rate.
And our total proposal would be what? With 2, 3,
It'd be
4, what?
With 3 pennies.
2,
Oh, 2 pennies, would be 40.
40 on the nose?
Roughly 40.3. Anna has to run it because it's not you can't just say.
Right, you can't just add it.
Yeah,
And we don't
she has
get
to
the
run it
software.
through a system, but you'd be looking about a little over 40 versus the 40, I think 45 that we were looking at.
45, I believe, 45 to 46.
So you'd be going from 36 this year to about 40.
If, my opinion would be, if that's what y'all, if that's what staff thinks that we can do, fund us, you know, appropriately, not be wasteful but I don't think we've been wasteful, but do everything we need to do and still be responsible with taxpayer funds, then I will be okay with y'all's recommendation of the 2 pennies. And that doesn't hurt my feelings, to say that. It's still an increase on the taxpayer, and that's, nobody likes hearing that, but it's not 25%.
Yeah, it helps to push those fixed asset expenditures and capital expenditures that were in the operation. It gets to push them over so that we can have a little more flexibility on the operation side.
So as talk about the stair step, do you think this is something that we're gonna come back every year and say, hey, let's do 2, 4, or like you said, just figure out, no, that didn't work?
Let's see where we land. I mean, I'm not saying we're just guessing, but we have a lot of balls in the air. We have a lot of open projects. We have a lot of variables that we're gonna need a good place to land. And to say that we have a good starting point today without a 2023 audit is kind of hard to say. You know, Robbie's done a great job catching up 2 years worth of audits in 6 months, but he's not Superman. I mean, he is to us, but, you know, so we're all working as fast as we can to rectify some of these, our Easter eggs, you know, let us get all the Easter eggs out. Let us work them out slowly. Don't make us force us to make a decision quickly. And then next year, we evaluate next year on its own merit. So next year, if our values go down, I mean, if we don't get an increase in values, our tax rate's gonna go up naturally. So we have to take each year individually. And I did say stair step into it, and I guess I should have said, there's probably a better word, but.
Well, I mean, I get it, but you're taking every year on its own, so.
Right, and, you know, we have, we're doing utility fees analysis, you'll get that, on the 16th, so we'll be getting those fees in line. Part of this coming year, I'm sorry, what is it? 13th, I'm so sorry. So we'll be getting those in line this year. We need to do a complete analysis of all of our fees. We're doing our impact fees right now. That's gonna take another 6 months. I think that'll come in April. When they get done with that, we're gonna roll them into development fees and get those fees in line. Users need to be paying for what they're using. And so when we get all of the pieces in place, then next year, let's look at next year on its own merit. I don't anticipate a time that we will ever not ask for the 3.5%, because that doesn't even keep up with inflation. But as far as the extras and things like that, I don't know, I can't answer that.
And who knows what projects, you know, that the citizens are gonna want done that might then put that pressure.
You know,
Well, I think when you go for that $30 million or whatever that number, the total project, that's obviously something I would want to present to the voters and say, are you comfortable with this bond?
we don't have that.
We don't have that ability.
We don't have that debt capacity, so that would be silly for us to present that. Yes, we need it, yes, we need that work, but the decisions that put us here today do not allow us that. And what I would like to do is say, you guys, staff, you're doing an amazing job patchworking and keeping everything going while we are getting into a good maintenance and replacement program of all of our equipment. Roads, lift stations, valves, pumps, everything, you know. They're doing a really good job of keeping it together from year to year. And that's why we put in a 5% COLA. You're welcome to back that down if you like, but when we go forward and when we make a choice, I would like for whatever you want to do for a COLA to be a commitment into the project. And then we'll run our numbers on that. I mean, that's the COLA and the COP are the variables in the general fund. The V&E and capital projects are the variables on the extra pennies.
I know Chief Anderson talked about the COP in his presentation. Is that with the grant or without the grant?
That is 1/115 of a COP with the grant.
Okay.
So it's 1 COP with the grant.
Okay.
If you want to do more COPs with the grant, we don't have room.
No.
You can't, sorry,
But that's what we're limited to, just one, because of
our M&O rate.
okay. Even with the grants, even with the potential grant funding, we couldn't get to it. Okay.
So he also explained to you that it's a 75-25 match, but our 25 is actually 110 because of vehicle and equipment and, right, so.
Well, we're not guaranteed that they'll give us 5 officers anyway.
No.
And they cut that
Right.
number usually, it may be 3, be 2.
Right. So if they present us with 3, we'll roll back and say, all right, we'll take 1. If they present us with none, we might try to absorb 1. Chief needs some people.
You got 1 to 15 is 1.15, so.
Yeah.
We would look at the 75% funding for the grant. Okay.
For the salary
Yeah,
only.
for the salary.
So it's more of a minimal cost than it seems.
Because we've already got the vehicle and equipment plugged in there.
Right.
So we're looking at salary benefits.
Right. So we could probably absorb 1.
Mayor?
Yes.
What would you like to hear?
Well, again, I'm just about run out of stuff to repeat.
I left my questions.
I'm very, very interested in trying to do what we can about our reserve funds, but if we can't do that, I won't feel good about it, but I'd live with it because I've been living with it for 3 years now anyway. But it is a very uncomfortable thing for me. I think it's a disservice of the people that we serve down here if our reserves are not enough to take care of us in the event of a catastrophe of some sort. And I haven't felt good about it for years, and I won't feel good about it next year if we can't do something. But we can't fix it all at one time. I realize that. We need to do something to get the reserve back into something that's manageable and helpful in the event that we have any kind of catastrophic event here. Other than that, I am awful stuck with the 5% increase for the employees. They've been without increases of any significance for a long time now. And we're losing people too fast, and we can't keep doing that. I'm interested in the police department because it's what I've done forever.
Imagine that.
Because they got the same number of guys they had when I was here, and they're having to do things they didn't have to do when I was here. And so either we start losing service out of the police department because they don't have people to do the work, or we've got to get them some help. The grant, I feel like they'll probably get something out of that grant. I don't know that they're going to get 5 officers, but adding 1 right now would be a benefit because it starts lightening the load on other people. But I'm not going to be one person who sits here and says, oh, well, I'm going to be a stickler for 25%. I don't like the 25% thing either, but we've got to do something to get out of the habit we're in of not paying our bills with what money we have. And we can't do that because we have things we have to do every year that we haven't got enough money coming out of the M&O budget to take care of it. And we're going to have to get there somehow, but it's going to take time, and I realize that.
If I'm understanding correctly, even if we went to a 25%, none of that would go to our helping us on the reserve side, helping build back our savings.
No, yeah.
So we couldn't even get there.
It was just trying to get a balanced budget somehow, some way. That was just one of the manipulations.
Without going to the electorate and asking for a rollback rate,
Right.
Which would cost money for the election.
Right.
Well, I guess we're in November, we'd have an election anyway, but
So to affect the reserves, you could cut the COLA, you could cut the COP, we could cut some city services, if you would like to go that way, if you want to add to the reserves. So, those are the ways to do it.
I'm pretty stuck on a significant COLA and adding to the.
I do want to just maybe, I don't want to correct you, Mayor, but we did get a decent COLA in '22. Do y'all remember what that was?
3%.
3%?
3%.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
Maybe not decent. We
So
got
it
a
is
COLA.
It is one, but
We
it's.
did get a COLA, and then last year we went,
Lump sum.
and we did the lump sum. We figured out that was not effective. We had 90% turnover. That does not mean 90% of our people left, but we had a 90% turnover rate. I can't attribute it directly to a COLA, but I think it's a pretty good deduction. So,
Again, I'm pretty dead set on a COLA for the employees. It's not fair to them that the economy is what it is, and the CPI is 9.1%. So, I'm not asking for a 9% COLA, but although I'm sure some people would be happy. But something to help offset what's going on in our economy right now. So a COLA is important to me for the recruitment and retention of employees, along with, if all we get out of the budget is one more FTE, one cop out of all the supplemental requests, then if that's all we can do, that's all we can do.
How many vacancies are within the PD right now?
he has, yeah.
So, and how long have we had those 4 vacancies?
Quite a while.
So what's the point of adding a 5th cop if we can't fulfill 4 open vacancies for a long-term period? who's to ensure if we take the debt on that that we're even gonna be able to fill that vacancy? We can allot that money elsewhere.
So the debt is exclusive of the COP. The debt is for the B&E. On the INS
That's
side.
the 2 pennies for cop and cola.
The 2 pennies insures, no, the 6% gives us the COP and COLA.
Okay,
The 1 penny gives us B&E, vehicle replacement and repair, and a buffer for capital. 2 pennies starts us working into capital projects. You're correct, and we have also just gotten through legal, I think, a policy to where we can start with cadets and bring cadets up. You know, it's a dwindling size of field out there, and then it is also a less attractive market. So we're hoping we can get cadets and train them in our way.
when would we know that?
So we do have one that they're looking at hiring right now. They're in process.
Yep.
And then we're working on the cadet thing to try to work that out, to start bringing cadets on.
We're pretty close on that. It would go into effect whenever the next academy starts. I don't know when they start. I mean, some of them start on this month, some of them start on that month. The chief can probably tell us more than that, but, they're out recruiting now. They're going all different places. And as they identify people that they think would be the right people, then they will try to pull them in for a cadet recruitment. And then there would be like an indentured servitude on the other end. You work for so long and you don't owe us anything, but if you leave before then, you owe us some back.
So I guess my question is, realistically, would that take effect, the filling vacancies within our next budget period, or would?
Oh, yeah. He's
He's on it.
I don't
right
think
now.
he can do without those vacancies for a whole year.
Oh, no, it
And
would
the
be
next
difficult,
person,
because those are vacancies that are short right now, and like Mayor said, they're not new positions at all, they're existing.
Is it due to promotions, or is it retirement?
Some of it, yeah.
Retirement, or leaving for another city?
Well,
Yes.
we had some promotions, some left for other cities. It's a kind of mixture.
Some we've asked to leave, help be successful somewhere else.
That's the right answer.
Okay. You know, we're intent on having the right people rather than warm people. So,
My opinion is we move forward with the 5% COLA, and let's go with the 2 pennies, which are the cop COLA and 2 pennies, along with that's where I feel comfortable trying to explain that to my constituents that that would be our increase.
If I may qualify, those pennies, basically what we would do is we would be borrowing the equivalent, but because that debt's not out right now, hasn't already been issued, we can't layer it in there. This would be something that would be then showing up next year, but we could borrow the equivalent of the 2 pennies to get going on these projects. But yeah,
But it would show up on the INS side next year.
next year, yeah.
it'd be reflected on the INSO next year.
But we have to take out the
But we
debt
have to
this
take
year.
out the debt this year.
Yes, you have to have that outstanding.
And that equates to how much debt?
Well,
2 pennies, I'm sorry, 2.
and again, roughly, I'm not going off the top of my head, but each penny's probably gonna support about 3.5 to 4 million, depending upon the interest rate.
There's no way we could get those issued between now and October 1.
No, because has already asked me for the INSI.
Well, that's not a lockdown.
A lot now.
If we are gonna have to go up on our INS side between now and October, or the adoption of our rate, we'll need to get that recalculated.
If we get it issued, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is there a possibility of us getting it issued between now and October 1?
Potentially. I think Bob said it was 30 days, and I'm going, it's just that
Yeah.
hard. But I know there's probably a lot of other people also run into the.
When Bob left last week, he said he was already gonna start
He
working
said he
on
was gonna
stuff.
start rolling on it, yeah.
But this seems like it's 3 or $3 or $4 million less than what we were talking about last week.
It's a lot.
The debt issuance, or was it 6 or 7?
It's half, yeah.
Yeah, about half is what. So with that, I wonder if that would affect anything that Bob's working on.
I can call him.
Affect him in what regard?
In that he's been working on the maximum rate we gave him last time, the 6 pennies.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
I'd have to let him know that it's 2, that we're looking more at 2 instead of 6.
so I'm sorry, you just said something though that I must have missed in our conversation. The 2 pennies will not go into effect until next year, but we will still increase 12% this year to start banking for that debt service payment?
No, we can't collect on that debt service payment if we don't make that October 1st date.
So if we don't make the October 1st date, we set at 6%. All this conversation is for non.
No, it just depends on how much we go to the market for. We can issue debt mid-year, but we just can't, we can't tax people for it because it
We
wasn't
can get the
in
debt,
existence.
but I understand, we can take the debt October 1.
Sure, but we may not have it in the rate.
I understand, okay,
So is
sorry.
that kicking the can?
No,
No.
ish. No, he's right, he's right.
So in order for us to start the process, though, it takes an action of the council for us to start getting that debt.
You have to
in line.
authorize it.
So we would need to get, for the next council meeting, an action item for Bob to start that process if we were trying to get it before October 1.
Yeah, well, I will get with him, if we can issue the debt by October 1, we will. If we can't, huh?
If not, then the rate will be something like that. Oh, sorry about that.
We'll be at the 6% point.
Yeah, the rate would be, our total tax rate would still be would be lower.
Right,
Yes.
no, because you're at
No, not
0.36.
what's shown,
Yeah.
it would be that, because we're not having that.
But you would know next year,
Yeah.
you're locked in
Mm-hmm.
on that 2 more pennies on the INS.
How does that work for a future company?
You're gonna authorize the
Authorize
debt.
the debt to.
It's
or
long
whatever.
term. And you're doing it on taxes, that's why it's yeah, so. So we can proceed in the 2 pennies, we can get with Bob, see if we can get that done, and then we can put together a chart as to what that will come out like, what we'll be looking at, and what we'll get out of that.
I would love to see it on this year's rate versus trying to, kick that to next year and then, because what happens if we come back next year, we're in a different bind. But we've already got an Easter egg waiting for us next year. I don't like that.
Okay, 2 pennies. We're debt by October 1. Y'all might have a special call meeting.
Does that make, am I crazy or does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
But you're still.
No, it has to be by the day that they're, what is our rate setting day?
It is our charter.
So the first hearing will be August 20th. So it would be the meeting in September.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Second reading of the tax ordinance. August 28th, at this time, we qualify.
For the second reading,
What?
For the second reading?
August 28th.
Oh, notice the second reading to adopt. Oh, I'm sorry, on 9/3. Forgive me, 9/3, September 3rd.
I'll see what we can do.
Do we need an action item for?
I don't need action today. If we're gonna issue debt past October 1st, we'll bring that back. If we can't get it done, we'll bring it back. There won't be, but we know what we're working on. Robbie will plug everything in, and we'll get your info back to you. It might be just an update or an email, but we'll put it out. We'll put it out on the web with this agenda as well.
Well, I did all the talking, you also.
Stephanie's not talking today.
Well, she's mad at me, I guess.
It's personal.
Where were we good? Yeah, you did. The mayor was good. You like, any matters?
It's because Shelley didn't bring candy.
No, I do have candy.
No, I'm good. Wrap my head around everything. I mean, a lot of my questions were already answered. I don't support the police. Oh, okay, come on, I don't get that. I don't support the extra cop. I don't, when I understand the deal, right? The grant, one heck deal. But is it, we have to think about needs and wants. Is it something we want, or is it something we need when we have 4 open vacancies? But then again, we also have an overtime issue. It's not gonna be resolved until those vacancies are full. Is it something we need this budget? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm asking myself. Outside of that, I understand I feel like everything else falls into needs versus wants. The cop is the one that questions that barrier for me. I want them to have everything, I just don't, we have to ask ourselves, will it even be able to be utilized and fulfilled, that vacancy, if it's added? Or are we just gonna assume additional cost with vehicle, equipment, and everything else?
I understand.
Yes, you don't want to unnecessarily tight budget.
Yeah, correct. Well, and that's the other part. We fill it last. And then if we don't buy all that stuff, then that money falls down to our bottom line.
You mean push it out like in terms of, say a higher date, so you're only budgeting, say, for a quarter year or?
No, I'm saying you get this grant today to hire another cop. We don't immediately go out and buy a vehicle and equipment for another cop. You fill these 4, and then you can have this one. And then if this one never fills, that money that we reserved for that, maybe we turn back the grant money, but then the budgeted money falls down to the bottom line.
It goes to reserves.
Right.
That's right.
So if you don't have a full staff, you don't hire get side eye or not. You're not losing the position, you would get it again next year. You get an opportunity to fill it again next year.
Yeah, I just don't.
But you're not buying equipment that you're not gonna use.
Since we don't have a butt to sit and see, right?
Yeah, and then if the chief can drum up some recruitment, then he gets another filled position. I mean, I'm not blaming him, believe me, it's not his fault that people don't wanna be cops.
They don't want nurses either.
Darn.
It's an issue everywhere.
It is, it is.
It's difficult to rely on one of those grants too, because we have turned them in and got nothing.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, one of the times, probably, I don't know, 2000, 2001, we had a grant we thought we were gonna get, and they told us that our tax rate ought to be higher and we could hire our officers. I mean, that's what they called us and told us from somewhere in Washington, and that we could hire our own, and so that just kind of took care of that, which was, I think, the last time we hired anybody on the grant.
Well, I like the idea of holding the money, and then if we have a full staff, we add a staff, but if we don't, then then we've had a little bit of a holdback to add minimal to our reserves, but it's something, every dollar's every day.
One of the other things we gotta look at is time to acquire that equipment. The lead time. The lead time.
So screening within vacancy.
Well,
That's why I said, is it even realistic to add a 5th vacancy for next budget period? Will all 5 of them be fulfilled within that period of time. I realistically don't think so when you have to include obtaining the equipment, training within.
Well, and one cop comes in and another one will leave. So,
Yeah.
you know, Portland will pay higher next week and someone will go.
I don't like the idea of assuming it when it's not a guarantee. There's other things that I would rather assume that are guaranteed and that we have 4, you know, it's, so.
Sorry, Mayor.
You still good, but
He'll
if,
still talk to you.
if we still do the 2 pennies though, but as she's saying, hold that money back for your reserves.
Yeah, I just don't think we should rush to spend something that's not at this moment, 1, needed, and 2, a guarantee.
Noted. Absolutely.
Especially when that money could be allocated to something else that is of need and is actually a direct need right now. Not saying we have to do that either, but I don't support the rush to spend.
Well, how about this? What if we take that allocation, allocate it to reserves? So we are increasing our reserves, understanding that if we get the grant and we have room to add a cop, that money could then be pulled from the reserves for that if necessary. And then we put our 15th of a cop in the reserves for sure. Just the shoes.
You would just, instead of saying,
Instead of
allocated to FTE, you're allocated to reserve.
Yep.
Knowing that if we do get.
If the grant comes through, we're gonna come to council, ask you to accept the grant with a budget amendment to pull the money from the reserves to pay for the balance
That
of
was
it.
gonna be my question, maybe some checks and balances, so we make sure that's actually what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what my concern is, but
Yeah.
you have to go in front of council and have that in front of us.
It's a budget transfer. And that's a good way for us to determine at that point if we wanna accept or reject the grant.
Does that make you feel more comfortable? I'm okay with that.
Tracking? He sounds.
I wanna go to the next slide.
I'm tracking, shut up.
This is what we'd be looking at for the all funds at this time. Again, just super high level. What we're looking at, again, is about $8 million. About $8 million more than last year. And it's heavier on not projected, never mind. Yeah, it's heavier on the capital improvement. But this is kind of what we're looking at, again, very high level.
Did those numbers change again from last week?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So changing the.
Change every
They're just
day.
hourly.
Yes, absolutely. It's an iterative process, absolutely. And they'll change probably before the end of the day, but that's where we are right now. So we're showing balance.
Rob,
Yes.
sorry. Do we perceive there to be any savings from last year from the 24 budget, 23-24 budget that can be allocated in the next year's?
At this time, no, I want to have it on the slide. At this time, no. The projections right now are showing that we're going to overspend.
Okay.
And again, we budgeted to overspend.
Right, we budgeted with reserves coming out.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say, it budgeted to have less reserves taken out, because I know we balanced it with reserves, but.
No.
Okay.
No. Good, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Concerns?
Have lots.
Comments? Now's your chance.
You answered my question, we talked yesterday.
Okay, so, he also hit number 5 all the way through C. 5D has a slated time. So Mayor, if we could pull that out and then continue on with the agenda,
Okay,
I would really appreciate it.
all right, so you wanna go down to number 6?
Yes, sir.
Item number 6, next step fiscal year 24-25 budget process.
After this. So that is actually also gonna be on the budget and tax rate announcements. The 13th, we're gonna have a public hearing on our utility rates, all of our fees at utility billing. So how much is a return check, how much is a meter cutoff? What? Tampering with a meter, that's a good one. So those have all been studied, we'll see those on the 13th. On the 12th, the budget has to be filed with the city secretary. So you'll also get your presentation on the 13th with your budget letter and all of that. Tax rate and public hearing on the 27th. First meeting in September will be your final reading of the tax rate and adoption of the budget, correct?
I think the budget's after.
Might be the next meeting.
I think it's the tax rate and then the budget.
Yeah. So hopefully we're winding this up.
No, the tax rate.
So the
Budget.
next year, 9/18 is ratify the property tax. 9/17.
Yes.
9/18 is the budget filed, the adopted budget filed. So we'll be done by the 18th of September. Yep. So we're down to the wire. We have good direction. I know we started on some vision and value stuff. We don't have time for that. So February, we're gonna call our first budget workshop, and we'll start on vision values in February next year, and hopefully set out some goals, and then what we request and the things we're working towards will match with those items. We're just gonna start a little earlier. I'm gonna do like one workshop a month for February, March, April, and we'll work on those things. Okay? Any questions on the path forward? Okay. That takes care of 6 and
We
7.
just took care of.
Yep, 6 and 7 done.
We're gonna take 5 minutes for a break. So anybody that needs to run, can, and we'll be back.
I'm like, there's snacks.
Broke my sandwich right before.
Wow, yeah, this is.
Y'all got copies? What you decided to go with?
Yeah, you're ready, sir. Sorry.
That's all right. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, consider the approval of a construction change directive 2.1 to be negotiated with Field Construction. Ms. Henry.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is for a change directive regarding the concrete in the plaza area, and it's basically switching the coloring and minimizing the amount of concrete. Instead of being 5-inch with a 2-inch on top, when we got rid of the shell in the concrete, we went ahead and now we're reducing it to only a total of 5 inches. And thereby the coloring was looking different, so they asked to switch the coloring from being a darker color on the inside and light gray on the out to flip the coloration. So we're anticipating there being a credit, but we don't know that in what it's gonna cost, because they're putting more dirt underneath and less concrete and then less coloring on top. So we're anticipating a credit, but that's to be determined at this time.
Okay.
And I apologize that the full packet is not in there. I will forward that to you as soon as this meeting's over with.
Okay.
I just realized that.
So we actually don't need to do anything on that because you don't know what you're gonna do.
Well, I need you to approve the change directive, which allows the contractors to move forward with us flipping the coloration and minimizing from 7 to 5 inches.
Okay.
But I don't know the dollar figure that it's gonna assist us.
Okay, so we don't need to say how much we're gonna spend to go ahead and make whatever changes you need to.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions about that, council? Not, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 8.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? Not, we will call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. We're gonna take 9, 10, and 11 together. They're all the same project, things that are going on down there. And who's gonna talk about that? That's yours.
We need to read those? One is the pad site presentation, and this is electricity connections and the plumbing connections. And we do have Mr. Warren Hassinger here if we have any questions. We can't answer at this time, but basically we're taking this out for slow bids because we weren't able to get the one huge contract. And so we're piecemealing this together. 3 bids were received for each of these items, and the low bids for the pad site is to raw demo for $24,050. Real Electric for $8,095, and Compass Plumbing Solutions, $10,970. Those were the 3 low bids, and we're asked, staff's recommendation is to approve as presented.
Okay. And considering that there's different, we're doing them all kind of at one time, I need to read those anyway. Number 9 is consider approval of award bid to Raw Demo for an amount not to exceed $24,050 for the pad site preparation located at Main Street Visitors Kiosk Art Installation Site. Do I have a motion on number 9?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 9.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other question? If not, we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. Number 10 is consider the approval to award bid to Real Electric LLC for an amount not to exceed $8,095 for the electrical connection located at Main Street Visitors Kiosk Art Installation Site. I have a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda number items.
Motion, have a second.
Or 10, I'm sorry. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further question? We will call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. Consider approval to award bid to Compass Plumbing Solutions for an amount not to exceed $10,970 for the plumbing connection located in Main Street Visitors Kiosk and Art Installation. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 11. I'll second.
I have A motion and a second, any other questions? Now we'll call for a vote. Ward 1.
Aye.
Ward 3.
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
Mayor, aye, it's unanimous. And consider the approval, I just got through doing that. Next item on the agenda is item number 12. Consider the approval of emergency purchase for an electrical control panel and 2 submersible pumps for a Gagon lift station for a total of $14,242.20. Mr. Donahoe?
Yes, Mayor, I need to point out that on your agenda, there is a typo on your agenda packet. We have the correct total amount. That's supposed to be $140,000.
That's what I thought.
I wondered about that.
Yes,
I thought we had some real good
Got
savings.
discount.
Boy, that
So
was
the agenda had missed a zero. The packet item is correct with the cover sheet.
Excuse me, Mike, I don't think this is properly posted, having the wrong, amount. So I would like for Mike to go ahead and tell you about the project and what has been done, and then you will see this back on the 13th,
okay.
okay? Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, what happened was during Tropical Storm Alberto, we had significant damage to the Gagon Street lift station. We had power surges and a lightning strike in the area, and it fried the control panel for the lift station, and it fried 2 of the pumps, 2 of the submersible pumps at the lift station. This is one of our largest and busiest lift stations in the city. The lift station itself is actually at our Laurel Street complex. And if you remember, we just recently completed a force main all the way from that lift station all the way down to the wastewater treatment plant. We paralleled a 12-inch force main all the way down from Laurel Street to the wastewater treatment plant. So this is a critical lift station, and because it happened during the storm and everything else, we went ahead and issued the purchase orders to get the control panel that's currently being built, and the pumps are on order. We had an electrician come in, and we made some emergency repairs to the control panel, and we're able to run 1 pump, and we've got a portable pump on standby when the guys go out and do their rounds in the evening and stuff. They go by there and check the lift station, and if they need to turn on the portable pump, they turn on the portable pump. But everything has been ordered, and we're looking at probably a 3 to 6 week lead time before this stuff comes in. And once it gets here, we're gonna rebuild the control panel, put it in, put the new pumps in, we'll be back in business.
Okay. Appreciate it. It'll be on the agenda for next Tuesday night.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
All right. It's the last item we have. Any other business we need to take care of today?
So at 4 o'clock, we have the hot tax recipients coming in to give you an overview of what they've presented. Until that time, not until that time, but prior to that time, I think that we need to discuss the value of bringing the advertising piece of hot taxes in-house or keeping it with the individual entities. I know that we've talked to you about that. We've visited with the hot fund recipients and some of the business owners in the city. And we have basically 2 spreadsheets, presentations, everything with direction from you guys, what you want to do. So we've talked about that. We've talked about what the numbers would look like. What is your, what are your thoughts? You guys' thoughts, discussion, whatever, on doing that?
Okay, we need to do that as part of this meeting, or we need to adjourn the meeting and discuss what we're going to discuss.
I'm sorry?
So do we need, looking down here at the agenda?
So we're going back up to number 5.
There we go, okay.
So we're still on the
I remember I
agenda.
saw it somewhere, I just couldn't see it now.
Sorry, I jumped around on you, Mayor.
Very good,
So we'll go back up to 5D.
yes.
I'm not trying to be deceptive discussing it without the hot participants here. I'm just saying, while we have that time, we can make that decision, and then when they show up, they know what they're presenting and we know what we're calculating to. So, thoughts, questions?
Going through this big, beautiful binder that was given to us, thank you, great. In the presentation y'all, I guess we received last week, the option one of bringing it in-house. I still feel very comfortable with that decision of bringing it in-house. One of my discussions I had with Vanessa was something about some of the funding for the arts, for certain entities, not knowing that, I don't know that we can do it better or as fast as I needed to, but, so, what do you think about that?
So one of the things I discussed at our last meeting with the HOT group was, I don't think that it can be denied that Luis does a fantastic job with his advertising and his group. And he has a group of specialists that work around him that he contracts with. So one of my thoughts would be that we hire our indoor person, and then we contract with Luis or the Art Center or whatever they would want that to look like. Of course, he would have to talk with his board about it, and work with the specialists that are already in place, marketing the Art Center, to grow the marketing for the other specialty groups, like the air show guys think they have a specialty marketing group. And so work with that group to get those specialties pushed out, and then do our independent push out on whole city restaurants, events, hotels, you know, the whole city in-house, and then slowly make a shift to in-house as well. Unless we feel like that contract is working, then we continue to do that. I will be the first to say, it's not perfectly thought out. It's not or exacted yet. It is an attempt at trying something new because our hotel tax and our sales tax are down.
What kind of, what number could we associate, or should we try to associate, since we are trying to allocate hot funding? You know, if we do the option one, bring everything in-house, and then work on a contract, if that's the council's pleasure, to work with the Art Center for that specialized stuff. What numbers should we associate with that? What dollar figure should we try to associate with?
With the whole thing?
Would you say we just go with the whole, as presented, you know, our number that we have presented?
Right.
And then we work on something on the side?
Well, we go with our number as presented, and it has to fall within that.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if we start getting in our STR rental, which we're hoping brings an increase, I think that allows us more money in that marketing. It might also allow us more in the marketing and more to dole out to the entities. I don't know how y'all want to do that, but if we wanted to do a mid-year allocation, we would bring that back to you. Otherwise, we have to work within the numbers we got. Robbie really wants us at $1 million projection, I think. I asked him to go to 1.2, so I'm stretching him out of his comfort zone already. I don't want to go any higher than that until we have some firm numbers from the SDR. From the SDR stuff.
So Vanessa, you were looking at 700,000.
Right, so we would do 700,000 for the city, and everything would have to fall within that, including Brittany's events, our overhead, our new person that we want to hire, and then any advertising we would need to do. The premise is that we might get a better value advertising more things, more events.
So this bigger sheet, I'm just trying to understand, so you have all the advertising dollars right there from everyone that asked, and I don't see the Art Center having their advertising money on that line item. They have it under encouragement or promotion of arts.
Right, so
So would they still get that money because it's on a different line, we're just taking advertising money?
So his advertising is in the ROCC.
Okay. So he would still get some hot funds though, based
Well,
on
he
what?
does it as promoting the arts.
Yeah, he does his
So he
advertising.
could use he can use hot funds still without having to do that contract to do his, because he still can get hot funds beyond the advertising dollars are taken away.
Well,
So,
anybody can use outside money. I see what you're saying. He
Yeah.
gets hot funds to advertise under the guise of promotion of the arts. I
so if
understand.
you're looking at the first sheet, sorry to interrupt, and it's 1.6 million, is that the very bottom?
That's the bottom, yes.
Okay, so The only thing about that sheet, and Vanessa, we had looked at breaking it down, the other sheets have a breakdown that's clear. So if you look at bringing tourism in-house, there is a spreadsheet with that one. And that's probably you want to look at, because we did one spreadsheet that showed everybody's request. However, the city is only allowed to go over hot funds, total hot funds, 30% for arts. And so everybody's request came way over that. So we had to cut it from that.
And we'll have to cut 30 more thousand from that category.
Oh, shoot, I need more room. Okay.
So,
But I think I'm not saying we give them the two, we were talking about this one we got last time.
yeah, no, today.
Today.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Okay,
You're right. He would have 200,000 using for promotion of the arts.
we didn't have to give him that, that's not.
That's what he asked for.
But he can still get it beyond advertising, so I'm just talking about the contract services that you're talking about. If he doesn't even have to worry about his advertising dollars actually being taken away from him, then it's not really gonna affect him in that capacity. Does that make sense?
Correct.
We can still give him funding outside of that, we don't have to pick him out of a whole group of people.
Because of the way he is marketing it.
Exactly.
And we can still access the specialty stuff if we want. You know, he's got whatever guru for filmmaking and for things, you know, but he still gets to continue his promotion. Now, like I said, we're gonna have to reduce it $32,000, but the column.
Do we know what, if we went out into do in-house, what the rent is gonna be?
So, yes. Shelley gave me a spreadsheet asking for $92,000 for expenses. We're going to send that back because I don't necessarily think that that is a solid number.
Renting a room? Or what else are you doing?
A portion of two people's salary. One full and 20% of another.
There are some other things, but the way it's written, you can't cross between chamber and tourism. And HOT can't pay for anything to do with chamber. It can only pay for tourism. And so we have to clean up.
So that would cover, I guess, reception or office and supplies and everything?
We're gonna send that back and ask for a cleaner document. 92,000 is too much in my mind.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, I'm sorry, it's for a person?
It's for the room.
Okay.
It is for, I think, 1 and 20% of a person. One person and 20% of one
Why are
person.
we paying for the one person if we're hiring a person here? I'm confused on that, sorry.
It's the receptionist that sits in the CVB.
But why are we paying? I'm just trying to understand, why would we pay for that? What would be the reason for us to pay for the receptionist? When we're just renting the room and the person's doing their work, they're not affecting the receptionist part of that. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding what the reasoning of us having.
Do we have to actually rent the rooms in there? You gotta buy them.
I do. So our intent is not to pull the rug out from the people that are doing it right now.
Okay.
And the person we hire, we anticipate being more of an advertising specialist, so I wouldn't expect them to sit at the CVB and greet people, especially now that I'm gonna request that it be open Saturday and Sunday, or at least Saturday.
So there it is, because you're requesting it to be open on Saturday and Sunday. That's why we want to put money into the wood.
Yes.
Okay, that's where that disconnect was at.
So
for me.
someone is greeting people 8 to 5, and the 20% of the other person we're paying for, we will talk about that person's job description and what they're doing and what we need them to do for us.
Sorry, I'll just really.
Nope, you're right on track. I'm sorry I didn't follow you, but.
We got there, it's okay. All right. So for the advertising, just make sure we have the 700,000 that we want to spend on that that would go to the in-house people.
Okay, let me,
Yes.
it is not just advertising.
the advertising and promotional programs to attract tourists and admin.
Admin, yes. City events,
All that stuff.
advertising for the peninsula.
But beyond that, so that's the $700,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So the leftover funding for the hot funds, we can divvy that up based on what you guys have put these in the other categories. And that's kind of where we need, if we go in-house, we have to start figuring that out as well.
Right. If we go in-house, we have to cut 80,000.
If we go in-house, we have to,
We've already done one cut. And you're welcome to go back to the original ask if you want. We've already done one cut. If we do in-house, we need to cut 81,000. If we go leave it out-house, we need to cut 181,000, basically. I'm sorry, 178,000 still cut.
Basically, what I heard on the last presentation from the recipients, it seemed like they were more in favor of going in, for us to go in-house.
I would say that it's probably, from the recipients, it's probably 50-50. But from the people that don't benefit, the local coffee shops, the local restaurants, the local hotels that don't get any advertising out of it, I would say it's 100% through them. So
There was discussion at this morning's Commissioners Court meeting about hot funds that was on their agenda, and one of the discussions that the commissioners were having, one of the issues they were having was with the 501, the purely small nonprofits, how they would benefit or not benefit from this coming in-house to the city. And when I came inside is when I turned off the presentation, so I didn't get to hear it all, but I think being in-house, it benefits all of those, because we're not just a niche market. We're not just going to the Arts Center or the Cultural Arts District. You know, it's more of all of Rockport, so it benefits even the small nonprofits. I would think that it would get some benefit from it.
So I've asked the judge if they would consider donating their advertising dollars to the bot, because it is the Rockport Fulton Chamber of Commerce. And, you know, we're not picking out, if you're not in Rockport and you're not in Fulton, you're not getting advertising. It's a peninsula-wide effort. There's no way to carve out this square and say, we're not gonna advertise for you. So I've asked the judge to participate. I haven't gotten with Kelly over in Fulton, but my intent is to. Of course, their boards and councils get to choose what they wanna do. But I would love to see it all consolidated, but, you know, I can only ask.
So that would our ask then just be for the participation of those entities to help assist fund in our
Advertising campaign.
And I will kind of comment on, I've talked to a couple of the smaller ones, talked to the people that sit on their boards, and they seem to be happy about that, because they said, for them, they don't have as many people on their boards, and for them to advertise stuff, they're gonna get more bang for their buck, and then they're gonna have someone be doing it. They don't have to sit there and have to worry about it and stress about it. And so I think that the smaller ones are actually more excited about having not to do that part of it, and they can just focus on their actual events than having to deal with that side of it.
Any other thoughts on that? Do we want to proceed down the road of bringing it in?
I'm for the in-house.
Okay.
I would think so. To me, some of the things that we have done over the last 30-some odd years don't work like they used to. And I don't think it's effective as it has been. And I think that the city likely would be more directly involved and more into trying to get something done as far as good advertising and promoting what goes on inside the city. And that's not anything contrary to the chamber. I think they've done really well, but I think what we've been doing for a long time doesn't seem to be working, and this is an opportunity to see if we can do it and be more effective about it.
If we can, I'll be the first one to come back and say that didn't work. Let's do something different.
Yeah, as long as we can get the right people on the board and make sure we get the right employee. I think that's my only really big concern is getting the right employee, because we're a small town, you're not gonna find the level that you're looking for once you're gonna source out, so
They're gonna have to be real resourceful and creative with making that money go a long way.
Yeah,
Well,
and we have to find a person. Just having my own marketing business, and I have to grow, I mean, we've already put out for employees that we don't have that market here. You're not gonna find, unless they have moved here like in the last 6 months, you just don't have that market down here. And so for to have that higher level, I do worry that we're not gonna be able to find someone quickly. I think that's a big concern of mine.
and we may not. We sure may not.
Isn't it not an option to do that remotely? As like a consult?
I would think you could. Yeah, I think we could at least find a consultant until we found a person.
Well, I meant like realistically though, the level, like with consideration of the level of work that you're gonna receive from a person that is specialized and can do this remotely once the material's produced to them versus having someone with less knowledge and ability, but is sitting at the desk. I think that it's reasonable to outsource this to get our biggest bang for the buck versus somebody that.
Here, but,
Yeah, that would be my only thing. I don't want, and again, I don't think you're gonna have someone local. I think you're gonna have to go out to the bigger city and kind of reach out there, but remote, yes, but they're gonna have to come down here and get to know the town and get to know the people to be able to, for me, to be able to advertise correctly and get what this town is about.
so at the next meeting, I will present with y'all an ordinance to create the board that we've talked about, that this will report too much like the Parks Board and the job description. And then when we start at 4 o'clock, we're gonna be working under the premise that we are bringing this in. So y'all can gear up your spreadsheets and.
Do you want them to create the job description or the board to?
I wanted me to,
Oh, but then, yeah.
but I don't have to.
Are we deciding today the remainder of the funding?
Yes,
Okay, so how much is that, you guys need me that for?
you gotta cut 81,000 now. I've already cut, remember that though, so you probably need to look at what they requested versus where I landed. I will tell you, like Wings Over Rockport, they had 2 requests for 2 events. I consolidated them to 1 event and said you get this much for 1 event or 2, whatever you choose. So you may want to compare with what their request was versus where I landed them, and then know that there's still another 81,000 to cut.
So
That's
Wings
out
Over,
of this 1.6.
Let me see. No.
Look at your new.
I have a bunch of them in front of me.
Yeah. This one's really in-house.
I pulled
Give me
one of
those.
these off.
Okay, so the 1 million, so we have 1.2 million. We have 1.2 million.
1.2 total.
Minus the 7.
I'm taking 700 for the city.
Yes, there.
I don't know what made her say.
And I'm cutting that 81 out
Because
of
there's
there.
so many of them.
And we need to cut 81 from what has already been cut.
Okay.
So if you look through these pages, she says on each event what they requested and what we've recommended.
So, okay, okay.
So-
Do you want to start the PowerPoint?
No, wait till they get here to do their sales pitch.
I just want to kind of,
23 applicants on here?
I'm just
There's
trying to.
22, sorry.
What?
Oh, 23 with the city, yes.
He's saying they won't let me talk. They don't know that you look, he doesn't know that you looked at me.
She can talk, leave her alone.
I didn't hear much. The nonprofits were told at the meeting that it was gonna be a Q&A session from the council members.
Yep.
So Christmas on the Beach does not have a presentation. We're
She is right.
you to call on us if you have questions about our application.
She is correct, absolutely. We did tell them that if y'all had questions, y'all would ask them, so.
okay.
I guess y'all can start going through.
I want to hear jingle bells and like have
You're 100% right, and thank you for bringing that up. So get the one that she gave you today that says bring tourism marketing in-house. Do you want me to move my cup mic so you can get a better picture there?
You wanna crumble it up?
No. Put that one away and do not look at it. Mayor, you received it, did you update his book?
Oh, he did.
Oh, he did, okay. Bring tourism market, that's the one you need.
And then throw the,
Put the other one away. Okay, everything that's not in that paper clip, okay.
I'm using the one that paper.
Okay, now, every event has a page that looks like this. How much they requested, how much we're recommending, or how much we've recommended so far, with the need to cut more. Okay? With the need to cut an additional 81,000. Kimberly, are you gonna put your spreadsheet up there?
I would be happy to.
Okay, and she's gonna keep the tabulation. Okay, what
So
can
can I
I,
get our signature?
what can I do to help you?
Okay, one other question. Okay, so see the Texas Maritime Museum.
Yes,
You have a request at 140 and a recommend 40,000. Are you, on this spreadsheet, are you putting stuff for the advertising dollars?
took the advertising dollars out,
And this is the additional that you can put in other columns.
yes. So the advertising has been pulled out in the one you're looking at.
So, can you bring up that?
So if they asked for 150,000 and 100,000 was advertising, that was pulled out, their ask now is 50,000.
PowerPoint?
And then we recommend, 10,000, whatever it's gonna be,
And we've still gotta find 81,000.
81,000.
She asked me to bring the spreadsheet.
Oh,
I
you
did.
want the- Okay. I
So-
didn't know if we were looking at PowerPoint.
So is that one with that's with the advertising dollars removed? And the 700,000 allocated to the city? No,
No, that's the wrong one.
yeah, that's the wrong one.
This is in-house.
That's the wrong one.
Okay, then you go
Oh,
backwards then.
okay. The in-house,
Lisa.
Then this one is the one, leave it like it is. That's the way it's typed.
Okay, hold on, we'll figure it out.
wait a minute, that's. So the bottom column should be 120, or 1.2. That's leave as is.
Where's the in-house one? 1.2.
Yeah, in-house is 1.2.
Hold on one second.
Where's the 7,000?
Hold on one second. We've got to, this one's going to show. This one says 1.2. That one says 1.2. On my screen, it says 1.2.
Technical difficulty.
I don't know, I need someone better to do. Robbie, we have a math question.
uh-oh. Okay, not in public. Yeah, exactly.
To be fair to everyone that's requested something, is there a way that you can take the amount, whether we include the full advertising amount or in the reduction, or you exclude it from the reduction? Take the full amount, subtract advertising, and then find me an equal percentage that could be reduced from each of the 22 requests
To get you $81,000.
to find me $81,000. Correct?
Yeah, so
Excellent.
if you just reduce it 5%.
Yeah, for each request.
That's
Depending on
something
the
to do.
amount that they request, it's gonna be, it'll differ because,
Cool.
but that's the fairest way to do it.
Well, okay, but their initial cuts weren't.
More equally, just equally.
Some people only ask for advertising, so they are gonna get nothing now. Yeah.
Where's that, Jimmy?
And there's advertising buried in there too, isn't there?
So like they would still get just say 4.5% off of 18,000.
Man, I'm still.
But I mean, this is the thing, I think they would rather have a reduction of 4% of 18,000 and still receive something than be cut 18,000 in whole.
Correct. Go to their sheet in your packet here.
That's scary if you touch my packet.
I'm not gonna crumple up anything else, I promise. So go find that one.
Oh, it was meant to be.
That one's not gonna be there. What? We're supposed to move Friends of the Pool. Into
Then
city.
we put 0. Look at the thing.
But they don't have any allocated in promotions.
You still have 18,000 in there and that should be 0.
Oh, you're right.
So does that mean we're already at
Yes.
and reduct, so now it's,
Wait, y'all are looking at the wrong one. Friends of the Pool.
There, yeah, there's the zeros.
Yeah.
okay, so all of this is with the reduction of advertising. But real quick, the Friends of the Pool requested furnishing of facility use materials.
So we pull this into a city event. This is gonna be the city facility.
Gotcha.
And they're not guaranteed to get it in 1 year.
And then we took off $700, we just knocked off the 700.
Like, we'll fund that as a city event if they do the masters.
Yes, sir.
This is gonna give me a amount.
Please go home, Brad.
I'm writing it down. And then 81,000 off of that.
Well, I was looking at the wrong one, apparently, too.
So this is the total request. And this is bringing it in-house, removing all the advertising
Okay.
and moving the Friends of the Pool into the city.
So that's where we would, if we wanted to reduce, and we sought to reduce 80,000 from the 1,281,000. This number, we still need to find a reduction of 80.
Yeah, because we're estimating we're hoping we're gonna get 1.2 million. So we're 81,000 high.
Okay.
So let's actually go through these.
So
That might help, it may not. It may confuse you more. Let's start at the top.
do you want that on the screen?
If it matches what I'm talking about, then that's great.
No, the PowerPoint in your hand.
Two ice cream and 2 cookies. I probably got sugar.
No.
Kind of like.
Just
I'm gonna do it right here. Okay. Maritime Museum Wine Fest. They requested $50,000 outside of advertising. I recommended to give them 20,000. I can tell you why, or we can keep going. Huh?
So the strike through shows that we struck through advertising.
Yeah, okay. So that's without advertising, they asked for $50,000. I recommended 20 because it's a fundraiser. And we can't support everybody's fundraiser. You have to raise your funds there. That's my feeling on that. Texas Maritime Museum, they requested 140. We recommended 40. What are their categories?
These done.
Historical restoration.
Do you have, there's 2 maritime.
Yeah.
So your categories were advertising, which we struck, historical restoration, and signage.
So this 140 includes advertising or not?
It does include advertising, but we struck advertising.
I spoke wrong. So let's go back. They requested 50, including advertising. We pulled the advertising out and then recommended 20. Because again, it is a fundraiser, okay? On this one, Maritime Museum, they requested 140. We pulled the advertising out. I'd love to know how much that is. How much did they put in for advertising?
50.
50.
They put in 50 for advertising.
Yes. And then there was 30 for the historical and then 10 for the signage.
Okay, so we recommended 40. Rockport Air Show and Concert, we recommended 0 on this because it was all for advertising. Okay. Christmas on the Beach, asked for 14,130. We recommended, we pulled out advertising and recommended 6,000 for promotion of the arts and signage.
The signage stuff that we can do in-house, you think? Is that something, I mean, are we talking like something the streets department does, or are we talking about?
I think it's custom signs for directional signage for their event.
Gotcha.
I don't see our streets guys making candy cane signs.
Yeah.
Not this time. Friends of Fulton Mansion requested 50. We pulled out the advertising, recommended 23. All right, are we following on the spreadsheet now? I'm sorry. If you want to know why I did, then let me know. Rockport Art Association, they asked for 250. I bumped them back to 200, geez. And this was on their promotion of the arts. We took 50,000 out of this one. So I didn't take from all equally, I took from all logically, to me. This is the conference center, 170 requested, pulling out the advertising. I recommended 85. It's important to know that we have a contract with these guys, so. Not an amount, but we're contracted to assist them. Warbirds over South Texas. This is the one, they asked for 50,000 over 2 events. Pulled out the advertising and recommended 23, so 50 down to 23, and they can use them over 2 events or whatever they want to do. So we're making it essentially.
Can you tell me what last year we did, it came in late, one of the requests for the air show or something?
What we did was like a $5,000 grant.
We did a sponsorship.
But I don't know which one it was. There you go.
Airplane and coffee, okay.
There's 2 flight groups now, where there was only 1. And they have different events.
Okay.
Okay. Bay Education Center requested 17. They didn't have any for advertising and we recommended 10. Okay. Heritage District programs asked for 120. Took out advertising, recommending 60. Smithsonian requested 66, took out advertising, recommend 50. Brad's confused, I'm waiting.
No, I was just looking at the original ask and what it was. I'm not that confused yet.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, okay. All right. Mural Fest, they requested 39, took out advertising, recommended 15. Rockport Fulton Chamber and Visitor Center requested 500, pulled out advertising and promotional, recommended 0. So that's the foundation for this scenario. Okay, are you tired of me yet? Seafair requested 10, recommended 7. Hummingbird requested 10, took out advertising, the net is 0 because all of their ask was for advertising. Oyster Fest, they asked for 15, took out advertising, we recommend 2. Historically, we have not given to Oyster Fest because it is, they've never asked.
No.
But you also need to decide, are we giving hot funds to an event that isn't in our city? Don't have a problem with it, it's not illegal, just letting you know. Welcome to Aransas, pulled out advertising, the recommendation is 0. US Master Swim Meet, we have pulled that into a city event. Rockport Fulton ISD activity bus sponsorship. They wanted us to follow us to Rockport on the back of the new activity bus. I think they were needing a $5,000 sponsorship. Y'all are gonna have to do that if you choose to, independent of hot funds, because it does not qualify. So,
Don't qualify.
yeah, that's down to 0. Little Theater requested 60. We recommended 40. And then this is our 700,000 for the city. Bountiful Bowl, that's the one that came in last. They requested 4,000. We don't have a recommendation on that, so you can,
She actually requested encouragement, promotion of the arts, but when I was talking to her, and if you'll look at her packet, she's really asking for advertising. And then when I told her the 2 different scenarios, she was really kind of excited that someone else might do the advertising for her.
so now, to Stephanie's question, can we take the tally over there? Math, Mr. Math. Can we take our tally over here and decide what percentage we could cut to equal the 81,000?
Which is the, what is it, the?
You're wanting it to be, wanting to see what the percentage was.
Go all the way up to the top, please. Delete the 700. Go all the way down to the bottom. Yep. And now see what gives us 81,000 out of that 581. What percentage applied equally?
22.
81,000.
So it would just be 81,000 divided by 20.
Well, no, some of them are like 0.
If you don't need a percentage.
Or whatever number.
It's 4.5%, then you're
No,
gonna
because
try
that
to
would give us
subtract
an
that off.
equal dollar amount, not an equal percent amount.
So we'll need to find the percent, if I'm following right, we need to find the percent of all of those at first, as of 581, and then multiply it by, what is it, 81,000 that we're wanting
Yeah,
to do.
since this meeting's online, I'm not even trying to do the math,
I
so.
just said, sure, sounds like math to me. There's numbers and all. So, what it was saying is the first cut wasn't done, you know, it was done based on maybe a fundraiser, kind of like value, where it's like Oyster Fest, he wants to give Oyster Fest. Okay, but if you decide you don't want to go in that city, I'm good with Oyster Fest.
Oyster Fest was, that was my request last year, right? I was just thinking about, I brought it like late.
Maybe. Yeah.
Robbie, wouldn't you find, it's 22, correct, excluding the city?
Not everybody got money. So count the ones without the zeros.
Excluding us, right?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
So it's 81,000.
So wouldn't you take it by a whole divided by 14? It would be 7.14% of each request reduced.
If you take 7.14% of each, would that reduce you by $81,000?
Will you math that for me?
I did that in my head.
Need to make sure it totals 100.
Total's 100. He's so specific over there.
I'm pretty sure that's a good thing.
Oh my God.
And then we would need to multiply those percentages by 81,000.
No, so they should all have
And what did you ask?
they should all have an equal flat percentage, though not based on their request. So the total amount at the end would vary because of the amount requested, but the deduction should be flat percentage.
Straight across the board.
And then based on their request, so you would be reducing all 22 by, say, 7.0%, flat across the board, based on 20. So what I did was 22, 100 divided by 22 gave me 16. How many do we have? 14. So 100 divided by 14 gives you 7.14% per recipient. And then you would just take, that's where I got lost after that. But it should be a flat reduction of percentage. Not weighted, correct.
Yes.
Because then you're gonna really reduce your higher numbers versus your lower numbers. They should all have an equal fair reduction of a flat rate across 14 recipients.
Okay, so evenly for all of them?
Correct.
So it'd just be based on the count, okay.
So there's 15.
I think you would want to exclude or include the city. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Exclude, because we have to hire a
12,
person.
13, 14.
Got 15, so let me see where we, oh, I found it.
Yeah, we did our cut.
Okay, so 14. And you're wanting to do 14.
1 divided by 14?
You're doing 1 divided by 14?
Why are you
Should be
asking me?
seven-
It's your,
7 something.
you're the math guy.
I'm public education,
Where'd you graduate from?
King, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Could save your life, Robbie.
I just knew he was gonna say Corpus Christi High or.
Well, he said King, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much Corpus Christi.
Is that Corpus?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I've spent most of my time at Hamlin and stuff, where people were smoking dope, you know.
That's the highest.
FOM class.
He forgets this is recorded. Way to go, Robbie, you're getting fired.
Good job.
Yeah. Right after you're done mathing this.
Yeah, not before then. Please finish the formula. Where'd you get that?
We get them at ER.
Look at that. Just like a wrap.
Stay out of my ear, Brad. Yeah, I try, but I also staff for EMS, physicians, staff, and patients.
I was gonna say, when we come here, that's like the best snacks of our week.
We run out of the craft sandwiches really fast though.
Out of the what?
The craft, like,
Oh, yeah.
and then we're just left with the prison sandwiches. That's what I call them.
We were transported to the hospital that had good snacks in the ER.
My dad just wants the pudding because you're buying chocolate pudding and my mom won't. I think he bakes his shrimp for chocolate pudding. I'm not going to the ER.
Simon likes to transfer to doctors all the time. No, probably that too. My favorite muffin's next door.
Oh.
I'm like, you're a mess. See, he says it's for my favorite muffin.
Exactly.
We're gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah, so I did 25.
So did that give you 81,000?
No, it should equal, it should be 500 and it's equal.
Yeah, y'all want to take a break while they math?
I'm just working.
Okay, great.
I don't know if that's gonna work, but that's how it
Do you need a recess? An
It's not
official
working.
recess?
No.
I'm still coming up with 539.5.
Well, then you didn't.
I don't understand why you should say 14 recipients. Flat rate. So at this point, if that's not a percentage, then it's 1.4. So what is maybe? They may have taken that information from me and I may be wrong.
You said 7.
Yes, I did.
He's saying I may not have. Kimberly, that's dividing. They have the entire percentage, which I have it on my phone.
You said the whole, I mean, well, never mind. I don't know whose side I'm on.
I'm like, it was taken off.
I mean, I only want to go
Times 1 divided.
It's numbers, it's portion times.
I think I'm saying.
Equal percentage.
Yes.
So that's why kind of like there was in that movie,
So I think it's like 5.5. Because times 6 is 84. 6% is 84.
Yeah, that's true.
So that we really then subtract that 5,000.
So instead of doing
6%.
it as
I think if they give it a
formula, that percentage,
Do they have a reduction between the 20,000 and the whatever's on the right side?
Where they get their life savers, they're all stuck
I
together.
want to make sure, I thought you were looking at a different formula. So basically, if we take 81,000 divided by 14, we're reducing everybody by 57.85. Is that what you're interested in doing? Because that's not going to come out the same. Because some of these are less than 5,000 anyways.
No, we're wanting to take the number of recipients. And then, you're going to find a flat rate percentage and take a reduction of that percentage from each.
So do 14 at 6%.
Here, have it.
That's 6%.
Or point.
Yeah, they want to do the same percentage, not the same amount.
Right.
Correct. Fair equal percentage across the board or per request.
He's serious.
Get that chat GPT up.
I'm going to take that out. We've got times the percentage of 7.14%.
I'm just glad I'm not on the hot seat over there trying to do math.
Me too. I was using
My head
it by
is
7% across the board.
Down all the way.
All the way down.
Then how are these reduced?
I look like Mike down there, I'd rub all my hair off.
The 7 minus 114, 7.14%.
So a 7% reduction only got us 40,000.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
so
let's
6
go.
was wrong.
Okay, hold on, just change the cell, go to the bottom, and that's 7.14. I just had 1 divided by 4, but just put in.
I'm glad you had that extra hour.
I'm gonna say I defer to the 3 mathematicians over there.
And then 499.
You got a hotel?
I have that all taken care of.
Is Brad staying somewhere else again?
Now y'all are all staying in one hotel.
Great.
I'm not at the, did the La Quinta on 16 is nice.
Damn it. Yay, Brad.
Oh, did you not want to be?
Oh, there's a whole
He just,
story behind
he always
it.
got put on the hood, so.
Brad
I
got
had to walk
stay
17
somewhere
miles
else.
last year.
Where'd you stay?
I was in Austin, they were in San Antonio.
No, we were in Dallas.
That's what it was. I was in Austin, y'all were in
He
Dallas.
stayed in Waco, we stayed in Dallas.
13% across the board gets us
We were also downtown.
to 505.
I stayed
Are we sure about that formula there?
4 blocks.
All you have to do is find a common the flat percentage, reduce each one to obtain the 81.
Is that the Hyatt?
Kaya.
Yeah, but they're already higher than that on the percentage to get there. They're already at 13, and it's still not enough.
13.7.
I wonder if it's calculating, if it's catching some of the
Or 13.75.
I remember this math where you had to keep guessing at the number till you found the number. I remember this.
Yeah, so one of the answers you got was the line scantron? Yeah,
No,
that's
it
the
was
answer.
it was a certain type of math that it was an improbable or something like number where you had to start doing the decimal out till you found the right.
13.92.
I don't remember what it was called, but I remember doing that. Iterative, yeah, I remember.
Yes.
Because you start with like a whole percentage, like 13, 13.1,
Yes.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
Okay,
You can also do it in goal C, but.
Thank you, Brittany. It's 13.92% cut across the board.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I didn't get to.
13.9.
I'm sorry, what?
13.92 is an equal cut across the board. That gives us our $80,000.
Okay. And it maths straight across?
If Kimberly's formula's right. But
Why I
yes.
ask? I don't know. Is it better than Robbie's?
So,
I think it's better.
I mean, whose are we gonna take? No. So you want math person?
Well, all you have to do is manually, somebody grab a phone. What is the percentage? 13.93?
Yep.
So all you do is take the top and then just make sure 13.93 of 20,000 is what's on the right-hand column. Do a couple of checks on it, and you'll know if it's correct all the way down.
I can't even see that.
I guessed a couple of those numbers.
Blurry.
I just think it's that there's a large font.
I need that large font.
Oh, I can't see. Nor do I understand even.
So on a $10,000 match, it should be 607.
That is interesting.
Yeah, right there, the education center.
607.
Okay.
So if y'all wanna go that route, then the last column would be what you would be awarding.
Hold on. There you go. Maybe you gotta use yours, just need an alternative.
He could have his,
And that's some of them are here, do we want to go and take them?
Probably not figured out.
Huh?
Probably not figured out.
Yeah, so if you wanna go an across the board cut to get the 81,000, it would be this far right column. So I can read those out and you can write them on the sheets that we have that corresponds with each one. Actually, Kimberly could do that since she's already there.
You can put the 700 back in the top.
Huh? No.
So the first one went from 20,000 down to 17,214.
Read the title of it, please.
Right.
oh, there you go.
Very bossy.
Yeah, give me just
Sorry.
a second. I'm gonna do something else to just kind of hide it a little bit.
Wouldn't it just be easier to print them out?
Or paper?
Huh?
Yes, if we could print them out.
Do you wanna do that?
I mean, would it be easier than her having to read every single one?
Yes. Is it on a jump drive?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, why don't you run and print it?
Just save it.
And actually, Bob, if you'll hide everything between the name and the award amount, then each group can see what we're proposing.
I think she did. She did everything but the event name.
Like that.
Yep.
And you want me to have this revised?
Yeah, sure.
Just send it straight to.
Do you need event names that some entities have multiple, like Texas Maritime Museum has more than one?
It's just for, right. We're not deleting it.
Yeah, I just.
Do we want to explain why they have more than one? So when it comes to those things we invited to.
Well, I told you. So you already got it.
He's gonna print that to the map room and then I'm gonna run get it.
Say that again. We're going to,
Sit him right next to
go
that.
with maybe I'm leaving it.
Is that what it looks like? Then I don't mind.
Wants to go.
I approve it. I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Like honestly, now that if you did, I would be disappointed. Yeah, I don't think I have that anymore unless it got moved.
Don't let me read because I might still have questions.
What is the question?
Did I look like I had a question?
Yep.
It's just my face. I'm confused at all times.
Do we want to just be on break?
There's not a lot going up here.
So if we're on TV.
Yeah.
That's good.
Ask.
Mayor, do we want to be on break right now so that we can?
Yeah.
Mayor, can I,
It was a recess. His phones are not doing. It's hidden. Keep that on.
Yep.
Put us in break.
Okay. We're taking a break till 4 o'clock.
Thanks. much bigger crowd than I expected, so, we have a little bit of time.
It's 5 o'clock and we're back in session. I'm sorry, I was sorry, it was 5 o'clock. No, thank all of you for being here, and I would like to say, how many of you were here last year when we did remember how we gave everybody everything they wanted? Keep that in mind. Thank y'all so much for being here, we appreciate it.
Okay, so, sorry about that, Mayor. We have a little bit of time between our, last, item on our agenda and this item. So we had a discussion with council, and they have asked us to proceed in the direction of consolidating the advertising under the city. So we're working off of that model. Additionally, we went through every entity's request without advertising, and then I actually made a recommendation, and then $81,000 took an equal across the board 13.93% to make it equal to find the $81,000 that we still had to save. So under the model of the city taking in advertising, there's about $500,000 to award for other events. We've made a printout. It's been cut down to the entity name and the award amount. And so, hold on, we'll get those handed out. I don't think we're gonna have enough for everybody, but what you'll need to look for is your entity on here, and then under this revised total, that's the proposed award amount for the $500,000 that we have to give out. I know we asked you all to come here in case council had questions of you. So I will just ask if any council members have questions of any of the entities that are here or any of the requests that have been made.
Can you just explain to them that this is just outside of the advertising? So if you guys requested advertising, that's why it could be.
Don't forget though, if you requested advertising, that was removed. And that will be consolidated. At our next council meeting, there will be an ordinance that recommends the appointing of a board to oversee the advertising. Additionally, they will have a job description, and they will help hire the advertising professional that will come in under the umbrella of the city. What else? It's gonna be work. It's gonna take cooperation. It's not gonna be perfect, but we're gonna try to make it better. We've got to get our numbers up, and so we got to try to do something different. This is the something different. So, anything from council to participants? Nope.
I know it's Q&A.
I think council is probably very upset that they can't get everybody their funding, because that's what we were able to do last year. We anticipate bringing in $1 million this year. We've pushed this up to 1.2 for our projections for next year. We had $1.6 million in request. I don't think awarding everything to everybody last year did us any favors.
It was important to us, though, that each person or, that requested outside of fund advertising did receive a portion of their request. So we did want to ensure that.
Okay.
Can everybody see that?
Well, some of them that requested only advertising were put down to 0.
That's why I said excluding.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, excluding advertising, each person that requested excluding advertising.
Do we want to go through each one?
Go ahead.
I'll make sure everybody can see that, or we'll go by line by
Do you want me to
line.
go line by line? Do you want me to go line by line
I
through
think
them?
that'll be beneficial to the
I don't know that we
requesters.
have copies for everybody, so, okay. The city administration and events, we take out 700,000 for that off the top. So that leaves us with the 500,000 to allocate. Texas Maritime Museum had 2 requests. They've awarded 17,214 for one, 34,428 for the second one. Wings Over Rockport, all of their request was put into advertising, so that will be done through the city. Christmas on the Beach awarded $5,164.20. Friends of Fulton Mansion, $19,796.10. Rockport Center for the Arts, $172,140. The Rock, $73,159.50. Axe Aviation, we consolidated your events into one request. I know you did 2 of the same event, so the same event twice in a year. We consolidated it to one request, awarded $19,796.10. Bay Education Center, $8,607. Rockport Cultural Arts District, $51,642. Sorry, I don't have these I don't have the event name, but Rockport Cultural Arts District, 43,035. Cultural Arts District, $12,910.50. The Visitor Center was all advertising, so that will come under the city. The next Seafair, $6,024.90. Hummerbird, the total request was advertising, so that will be done under the city. Oyster Fest, $1,721.40. Aransas First, they were all under the category of advertising. So we did 0 on that. Friends of the Pool, we pulled that in as a city event, so they will not be awarded anything independently. Rockport Fulton ISD, their request did not meet the standard for hot funds. Rockport Little Theater, $34,428, and Aransas County Council on Aging was all under advertising as well, so that goes down to a 0 there.
Will you touch on the 30%, 10%, that's a maximum allowed by, for arts and history?
Yep.
Please.
So we have a legislative allowance that 30% can be spent on the Center for the Arts. This year, that's $360,000.
Not Center for the Arts, but just for arts.
You're right,
Sorry.
arts, period. 360,000. Maximum allowable on historic is 15%, that's statewide. I think about 4, maybe 5 cities have the arts up to 30%, and we're one of those. Do you want to take questions, council?
Sure.
Okay, great, we'll take questions. Anybody? I'll look for hands first.
I will.
Yes, ma'am. Introduce yourself and what entity you're
My name
with.
is Sharon Laughlin, and I'm with Fulton Oyster. And in case y'all don't know, Fulton Oyster Fest is put on totally by the Fulton Volunteer Fire Department. Fulton Volunteer Fire Department go to every fire in the city of Rockport. Every house fire, every accident, everything. We also serve the rest of the community. All of our money every dime we make goes to the fire department. Draws light, fire trucks, you name it, for firemen only. None of us are paid. Our food booths are all non-profit, local churches, schools. Rockport Fire Department has a too. Every dime we make goes into the form of fire department. That's it. Thank you.
So to that end, I think all of you here are nonprofits to some extent, so all of your money goes back to something. Am I wrong? You either, right, everybody here is a nonprofit, so.
Yeah, for life saving, life saving.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Concerns? Those are probably greater than the questions. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Karen Mella. I'm here representing, I'm a lifetime benefactor of the Rockport Center for the Arts, and I'm on the Chamber Foundation Board. The statement that will fall under the city, if we could have an explanation of how that advertising will be handled under the city. As I'm looking at it, I'm not fully knowledgeable of how that will play out and how that will be handled and organized. But just from the high-level appearance, it looks like you're gonna have to hire people inside to handle the marketing. You're still gonna spend the marketing dollars that you were gonna spend with the entities that know what they're doing, who they're marketing to, have the results, proven track record over the years to handle these types of marketing activities. It seems like the city now is going to be on the learning curve and taking on more money because you're having to hire the staff that understands. And I had a marketing company here for 10 years. I did marketing in San Antonio for another 15 years, so I get marketing. I spend a lot of marketing dollars in my real estate business. I get marketing. You have to do it right, and you have to know what you're doing. So maybe just a brief statement on that'll be handled under the city. How will that be handled under the city versus how it's handled now?
Yes, ma'am. So I will start with how it's handled now. We give a subsidy to the CVB or fund the CVB through hot funds, and they contract out the marketing for us. What we're proposing to do is bring that back in-house so it's not contracted out, hire one professional, work with the CVB. There's a person there that's working on some things. Work with some other entities that are doing professional and specialized marketing in-house and bring that into the city so it's not contracted out anymore. Hire a professional. If it doesn't work, we go back the other way. The fact that we're doing something different is a result of the fact that our hot funds are down and our sales tax are down. So we're gonna try a different direction. And if it doesn't work, I'll be the first one to come up here and say this didn't work. We may not be able to hire a professional. We may have to hire a contract professional that works remote and comes down, gets to know the city and does some things like that. We may not be able to attract talent here. But we have to try something different. We have to try something different. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Susan O'Brien, and I'm a member of the Rockport Center for the Arts. Vanessa, I just want to know, what would be your metrics to know what the city is doing? Some of these organizations here, who Karen was talking about, have been doing it for years. They know their metrics, they know their people, and they know if they're doing it right, and if they're not, and they go in different avenues. What will the city be doing? How will they know, and how long do you want to try this experiment?
That's a really good question. So your metrics may be working to attract people to your entities and things like that. We're only awarding hot dollars. So the success of hot dollars is our only metric. We bring in sales tax. If just hot dollars were down, I would say, sales tax is up, not worried about it. But hot dollars on a decline, sales tax on a decline, that's my only metric. You may be performing amazingly, but you're doing it with hot dollars, or you're doing it independently. So if you have a metric and you're performing, that's fantastic. You know, you're welcome to do whatever you like outside of hot dollars, but our metric is hot dollars because that's what we're giving you. So if you're performing outside of your hot dollars, that's fine. But if you're performing inside of your hot dollars, unfortunately, you're lumped in with the group that the hot dollars are on the decline. I don't have a time frame. There's the proposal of an appointing of a board to do this that is comprised of the people in this room. I'm not a marketing professional. Sounds like Karen would be a great person to be on my board, and I just heard her volunteer, maybe. No, because we're gonna pull that in. We're not experts. We're not experts. We don't have the knowledge.
I think it is important, though, after each event moving forward, we do need to collect attendance records so that there is support there on what they're able to produce for advertising for a particular event, and then the outcome of that advertising. So you guys working with the board, working directly with the city is going to be very important for them to develop this correctly and meet the needs of the events and the event holders.
So let me just ask one question. How many of you in here are first-time requesters? And how many of you in here did not request anything? I'm sorry, raise your hands, guys. You know, she has a business that didn't request anything. So the thought process is, great, we advertise the art center and we also get a deal for some restaurants who aren't being represented at all in hot taxes, or our small businesses, our small restaurants, our bigger restaurants. They're not being represented at all in the hot taxes, and they're part of our draw. So I think they deserve a space on the ticket.
I guess I'll second to that. I think being on council for the last couple of years, I'm sorry if I talk loud, but we've been asking, a lot of you guys that have been continually asking for hot funds these last couple of years. We've asked you guys to kind of come together and utilize these hot funds, to the max you can, that it works for everyone and not just your own individual interests. That helps the whole community, not just the one interest. And I think that wasn't being done. So I think this is a good step forward to make that happen. Again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's for everyone. Every event's still gonna get advertised, but we're also gonna lump in this event and that event and work on that. And with having the board of you guys, whoever wants to be on that board, you're gonna hire that person. You're gonna be meeting with them once a month, twice a month. You're gonna be in charge of what they're doing and making sure they're being held accountable on the work that they're doing. Now there's additional funding that we can give out above that. You guys can use that wherever you want during that, if you don't put in the advertising line. So it's not there now. That money, it's just the advertising line. So I just kind of wanted to
Right. And it's not just the city of Rockport either. The other thing that I think it's very important to remember is it's the peninsula. We got to get everybody involved. So when that's the rising tide, and we want to raise everybody up with this. And I don't know, it may not be perfect. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question, Vanessa, and thank you for all this explanation, first of all. How long of a lapse do you foresee in between October the 1st, when the Chamber's current ad campaign concludes, and the time that we can roll out a new campaign? And the reason I ask that is because I'm concerned that a big lapse is going to negatively affect the collection of revenue through hot funds. So do you have any idea about that?
I don't have an idea of the time lapse, but I know that we're gonna have to work with everybody individually to get continuity. We're gonna have to work with Shelley at the CVB with what they're doing. Maybe we have a 6-month continuation of that if she'd be willing to do that, if we need it, if we can't attract talent while we explore other things, while this board explores other things. Maybe they can hire a person in 90 days. That person is still not going to be able to get a campaign going in 2 days. So there's going to be a lapse. There's going to be effort with everybody. You guys are going to have to visit with us. We're going to have to talk about what your needs are.
I just think the tourism sector has gotten more competitive, and that's one reason that we're in experiencing this position. And I think, having any sort of lapse where Rockport Fulton is not being said across the state of Texas can have a negative
very important for me and council to know, as we're going through it. We're not doing it in a vacuum. I think the number of people here shows that we wouldn't be allowed to, and we shouldn't be. So I think your input is invaluable, because everybody here has a similar concern. I think that's something that needs to be said, and I have to work through with you guys. It's not an overnight transition, and if Shelley doesn't kick us out, you know, we'll keep working. She's got people over there that know what they're doing as well, so we continue on that path. You know what you're doing for your advertising. We just work together, and then let's see if we can maximize it. I'm sorry.
I think one of the things that I've brought up repeatedly is destination marketing.
Right.
Which is a trend in cities. And to your point, rising all boats, right? Rising tides, rise all boats. I think that's really the benefit from this funding being centralized. I want to ask you, when you think you will put your board together, what date you target for this marketing?
So we have the ordinance drawn up. We'll have it on the next council agenda. Shelley will also have a board application packet ready by then.
Yes.
And we'll get started right away. And then we'll, you know, hopefully we can have council appoint that board at the first meeting in September.
I think
I was gonna say something. Go ahead.
we might, so on August 13th, we can have with what Louis is saying, like the time lapse, if we wait until like September to appoint that board, then you have to, but do you think that's gonna be enough time to get everything? Like, can we appoint it any sooner than that? Like, if you get the board packets by.
Between now and Tuesday.
No, I'm saying like after the 13th. So like maybe the next council meeting after that.
Yeah. So we'll adopt the ordinance. We'll have the board application packet ready, and then at the first meeting in September.
I just would like to give them as much time as possible so they can go out and find someone, so that time lapse is not so much.
What do y'all think about only having a week from today to apply for a board? Is that enough time?
That'll be 2 weeks.
So what we could do is have you approve the ordinance. We could have these people fill out their applications between now and Tuesday. We can have it a board appointment after the ordinance is adopted. So everything is done next Tuesday.
No,
So the creation of the board would have to be an ordinance to reading.
Never mind.
So.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on.
I think there could be other ways for us to avoid that lapse. But I don't think rushing the creation of this is.
Yeah, we have the
valid.
board ordinance
If
ready
we're
to
gonna
go.
do this, we need to do it right.
Agreed.
We're not just meeting our timelines on first and second reading, but we need to figure out what we want on the board. Where do we want, not only are they represented, but this is gonna change something that's gonna be really fluid on who comes in and requests. We need to look at, how we want it represented and who's gonna be the most beneficial on the board and what they're gonna bring to that board. Even if we have a qualification list or whatever it is, they have to bring valuable insight to that board to make this work. I don't wanna rush that.
Okay.
And I understand that, but at the same time, if these funds are gonna start giving out in October, so we have to, so you think September, the first meeting in September, you think that's plenty of time to get the board appointed and have them be able to start their process of hiring someone?
Well, you said we have to create an ordinance first before we create a board.
Ordinance
Which
on
has
the
the
next
first
meeting.
and second reading.
So you have one.
First reading in August, second reading in August.
Then the
So
first.
you can appoint your board here or September.
So September, do you think September?
The second meeting you can appoint.
Yeah, we can do that.
That would be the 10th of September.
That's over a month.
Sure.
As a non-hot person, not receiving, the board that you're anticipating, I understand people that were going to receive those funds should be the majority. I understand that part of it, but the culmination of the board will they include others that are not recipients of those, but are also part of what helps boost our tourism in this area and who also are paying into those hot funds?
I think there should be representation from the hoteliers, a business owner, recipients here. We've asked the county to join. I haven't talked to Fulton, but if they join, they get a seat on the board if they're putting money in.
Would we have a council liaison for that board?
Yes. Volunteers? Quit looking at your feet. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. She was next. I'm so sorry.
There are so many red flags on this today that get scared. I understand you're wanting to do something different. In going in this direction, do you have a model in any other cities that has done this and has it worked?
Absolutely. We have a list that have pulled the advertising in. Most of them are pulling the CV. The trend right now is to pull the full CVB in under the city. Shelley came from Fredericksburg, which is very similarly situated as us. So that's kind of where we modeled the whole thing after. Now, Fredericksburg has spun off and they now have a separate CVB that's independent of everybody. But it started with one person in the advertising and very similarly situated.
To me, it looks like trying to reinvent the wheel when we already have entities that are working and have profitable markets. Okay. To form a board takes time, to get input from all these people takes time. I don't see how it's going to help. As I said, I just see a lot of red flags.
Okay, so can I pose the question to the group? How many of you think it's working right now, as is? How many of you want to, huh?
I'm sorry, I need your name.
Sorry.
Anita.
What's your name?
Anita. I mean, I don't, actually, never mind. We've had several meetings and we've talked about how this will go to get to this point. Like I said, we didn't create this in a vacuum. Council is certainly willing or able to switch directions. It's their pleasure. But I also think it needs to be noted that you're not restricted from advertising outside of these funds. So if you go to the county and they give you $20,000, you do what you want with that advertising money. Or you raise money, you raise $100,000 in your organization and you want to advertise on your own with that, you are not restricted from doing that. You can do whatever you want with money that does not come out of this hot pool. Yes, ma'am.
So would the board oversee just the advertising dollars, or would they oversee the whole hot funds?
Advertising only.
So we're not doing away with the entire thing. The
No.
hot fund process will still be in existence.
Yes.
In-house.
Everything we read out, your organization still receives for the purposes that you requested it.
And one other question. What does CBB mean?
Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you.
Sure. Sorry about that. You weren't the only person with that question. Yes, sir.
George from Rockport, Little Theater. My question is, so how does it affect us, for example, when we've got a certain program right now, we've got our analytics and our website, so on and so forth. Now we would hand that over to anything having to do with 75 miles out, right? We'll continue to do what we do locally and regionally with our posters and whatever. Is that correct? We can do whatever we want with our money, irregardless of
Yeah, you can do whatever you want with your money.
Yeah, so we submitted a budget and so on and so forth, which entails heads and beds and so many heads and beds for that funding. How does this change that part?
So
how do we do our reporting now if we're not doing our advertising? So
well,
it's gonna be a two-way street, I think.
Right, you've asked for $34,000 for promotion of the arts. Right. So the metrics that you need to turn in are how you promoted the arts with that $34,000. Your advertising you'll have a professional that's gonna work with you and say, all right, you have this, you have that, what can we group together? How can we throw our hotel links on there, our restaurant links on there?
So I just continue to do what we're doing now, which is this particular event generated this kind of audience, which generated these kind of analytics. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because ours is event-based throughout a season.
Yes, sir.
Look at our shows. That's all I needed to do. So we don't really change anything except we were handing over.
Advertising.
Plus 75 miles out.
Advertising.
Right. The rest of it we're responsible for.
I know.
What do we talk about locally for hot funds? In the criteria that you have to have documentation, surveys, whatever, people are.
So to that end, we're investing in a geofencing tool, and we will geofence your events and know your attendance and where they came from. No more collecting zip codes. So we will, part of that, we'll have access to that. Additionally, we're buying into a tourism study. I think the county has indicated a willingness to participate in that. Maybe I'm wrong. So we'll have those two things as well as tools for you guys. So we will know what we're generating. I'll give you an example. How many people do you think Oyster Fest brings in?
Probably 40, 50,000.
Fantastic. When they did their geofencing demo, I asked them to pull Oyster Fest, 65,000 independent hits. So they were missing out on 15,000 people for their event. So that's gonna bolster everybody's numbers. I mean, I think it will, but we'll be getting an accurate count of who's attending what events, and where they're coming from. I have a hostile crowd. Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you to the council. I know this is, and I preached this to county commissioners this morning, of this importance of this. This is our #1 industry within this peninsula. And like you said, if the numbers are diminishing, we need to pivot. Might not be perfect, there's going to be challenges, but change is always difficult. But in the end, we won't know if you're going to make that change. So I like to thank the council for taking this initiative.
So the other thing is, I don't know how many of you know me, but I'm an open book and my door is open. And if everybody or anybody has a concern or a project that is not getting done or something that you feel like you're missing out on, I'm available and we're gonna make that work. I can't just keep throwing money at everybody, but no one will work harder than this staff that we have at the city right now to make everybody successful. Because if you're not successful, then we're not, and these guys are not. And our job is to make sure that they're successful. So we're gonna address those concerns, we're gonna work through it, we're gonna talk it out, and we will come up with something perfect, even if it's go back to the way it was. But we're gonna work through it. We're gonna run all the traps and work through it. And I'm here to help, not hinder. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Labels. I'm the executive director for the Texas Maritime Museum. One of the things I would really encourage, if you can just stand up, I can. One of the things I would really encourage is that for that board, whomever that is on that board, to be also classified as an oversight committee. Provide the necessary guidelines, because honestly, anybody that we raise outside that, or we use for marketing outside that, we want to maintain the consistency of the message. That's the problem that I'm hearing, and I've been a part of these meetings for a while, and it's the consistency that we're missing out on. And so I would urge the whoever that's on that board to be able to provide the necessary guidelines. So that way we can maintain a consistent message. So, but again, that's the verbiage. I've actually been a part of these committees in the past where they've actually used logos or certain verbiage. So that way in radio ads, we put the message. It's presented on, or whomever. But the fact is that way, from this point forward, we can continue to maintain a consistent message. But that's what I would urge.
So if I hear you correctly, you want us to give the consistent message even on your dollars outside of hot funding?
I would use it.
So if you have your own money,
Yes.
you want the board to tell you how to market that?
Here's the thing is that, as an organization that's a representation of a community, I would personally use that message to continue to provide it. Now, again, the fact is that it's gotta be something that is easy, it's simple, and cohesive, so that way it's not just, I'm sorry, it could be a hashtag, it could be a logo, it could be a simple verbiage that's like, also, recommended by or friends of.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I would be comfortable with that if that came from you guys. I don't want to tell you what to do with dollars that I'm not in control of. And when I say I'm so sorry, I mean the city.
But the fact is that if that was something that the board does with these funds,
right,
I think then that message carries over from every organization. So it's not just something pops up there, hotel this or that, whatever. It's a consistent message. The fact is that one of the problems that I've heard constantly is that the message is not consistent.
Okay.
That's the destination rock.
Right, that's the destination tourism we were just talking about.
So I'm hearing some pros and cons to this, and again, it is a change, so it's gonna be difficult. And one of the, I agree with, some council members here is, it's August, whatever it is, we may be rushing this. So I don't know if we'll be ready on October 1st to give everything. So I don't know if we can work through, hey, you've got to do it October 5th, okay?
Right.
We can allocate some funds and continue working the way we have in the past to try to bridge the gap and work towards this end goal, but yet still continue our funding and the way we've done it, because I don't want to set anybody up for failure, and I think we may be setting ourselves up for failure if we say October 1st we're ready to go.
Right.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
It's a transition, and like I said, maybe if Shelley's willing, we can take part of what she's doing, continue it, and find the things that we want to change and mix those. There can be a hybrid. It's not going to be October 1st, all the advertising is coming in. That's not realistic. And if who's got the next event coming up? Who's got something in October? We're not gonna be ready.
Yeah.
So that's what I said, if you will come and talk to me, we will work it out and we will make it work. And if that means we go to council and say, we need to give them $3,000 for their advertising because we're not ready, then we're not ready. We will.
Y'all think as a group, is that something that's be a little more flexible? Do you think that's something that we can work on? Is not just pull all your funding on October 1st and
no,
but work through it throughout the year until we're ready? Does that sound something we can work on? Know what our goal is to get to in-house.
The end may look like a hybrid. We don't, let's roll through it. Let's see what happens. You guys, you can all work against it. You absolutely can work against us and go and get it back the way it was. But there's still the portion of the community, you guys, you literally are split 50-50. So y'all can work against it and half of you can be unhappy and, either way, or we can all come together and find a really great solution that's gonna make the whole better. And that's the thing. The goal is not to be punitive to the Center for the Arts. I'm gonna say right now, and I've said it in every meeting, Luis does a fantastic job with what he does. Why would I absolutely exclude that when I can pull that knowledge and help other people? That would be just ridiculous. Some of you other guys are really good at marketing. Some of you don't want to do it. You're not big enough and you don't want to do it. Oh my gosh, I can piggyback on something great going on. Let me piggyback. Let's literally just work together. I'm here. I will listen. Somebody's going to leave mad, I promise. Not every one of you are going to be happy. But I will work with everybody and we will get your events advertised. I promise. I promise. If you don't know me, you will.
let me take a second of your time. I sat here and hadn't said a word. I can feel people staring back at me. I remember last year when we came in and sat down and everybody was smiling, and I mentioned to everybody how important y'all were to our community, and we realized that, and everybody was really excited. We said, you know what, we think we've got enough money to give everybody every dime they asked for. And we did that, and we said last year, don't look for this every year, because it just doesn't happen. It was the first time I ever saw it done. But I want to tell you again that the city can't get by without y'all. And we don't want to do anything to hurt your business, to harm your business, to slow you down. And we need to know what it is that y'all need from us, and we'll find a way to help you with it. And again, you are vital to our town, and we've got other people coming in constantly that are bringing new business and so forth to our town, and they're important to us. If you never use any of the money that goes through the hot funds, but you're running a business in this town, you're important. We need you here. And we won't do anything intentional to harm your business. And if you've got concern, come see us, but you're vital to us. And we understand that, and thank you for being here. We couldn't get by without you. Anybody
It's true.
else?
Anything else? I will stay here after we adjourn the meeting if anybody needs to yell or congratulate.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, I have a second.
I'll second.
We're adjourned.